Chapter 30-23. Magic Note King. The black-robed middle-aged man who suddenly appeared in the void looked at Jian Wushuang calmly with a cold expression. Although he did not speak or show any signs of wanting to attack, just standing there still gave Jian Wushuang great pressure. Such great pressure. If I'm not mistaken, he must be the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew very well that in the entire Magic Note Divine Kingdom, only the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom could give him such great pressure. I didn't expect that the great king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom would personally come here. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. In his opinion, although he had caused a great disturbance in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom would personally ask about it. However, he would only ask about it. He would not personally come out or make a move. But now the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom had come out personally. Jian Wushuang did not know that the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom did not intend to make a move. However, although he did not make a move, he could see what had happened through the dragon imprisoning compass. When he saw the battle between Jian Wushuang and Gold King, he was already shocked when he defeated Gold King. Then when he saw Jian Wushuang slaughter 16 true saints in an instant while being surrounded by experts from the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, the Magic Note King could not sit still. The dragon trapping compass was a treasure he refined. He directly controlled the dragon trapping compass to open a space passage so that his original body could arrive here as soon as possible. After a long silence, the black-robed middle-aged man in the void, the Magic Note King, finally spoke. "Tell me your name." "Heavenly Sword Marquis," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Heavenly Sword Marquis?" The Magic Note King's expression changed slightly, but he clearly did not remember this name. "You were able to defeat Gold King as a rank 1 true saint and even left dozens of true saint experts in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom helpless. You are definitely not an unknown person. If I'm not wrong, you must be from the 3 palaces of Heaven Cleaving Alliance, and not the Heaven and Earth Palace. You are most likely from the Primal Palace." Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces? Many experts from the Magic Note Divine Kingdom were stunned. They were all experts above the Immortal Saint realm and knew of the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces. At the same time, there were also people who had heard of the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces. They knew that it was where many geniuses of the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces cultivated. Now that they heard what the Magic Note King said, these experts immediately understood. That's right, it must be the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces. Only those genius monsters in the 3 palaces have such terrifying strength. A rank 1 true saint has the battle strength of a peak rank 3 true saint. Only the 3 palaces of Heaven Cleaving have such a monster. The level of the Heaven and Earth Palace is the lowest in the Heaven Cleaving Alliance. The skills displayed by this person have indeed exceeded the level of the geniuses of the Heaven and Earth Palace. The experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom began to discuss. They all thought that Jian Wushuang came from the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces, and it was very likely that he came from the Primal Palace. After all, there were strong and weak geniuses. The geniuses of the Heaven and Earth Palace could also cross ranks to challenge others, but it was not too outrageous. For example, Jian Wushuang had met 3 geniuses of the Heaven and Earth Palace, Qianxin, Longyun and Xueyu. Among the 3, Qianxin had fought with him face to face. Qianxin was clearly a peak false saint, and he had just broken through, but his battle strength was enough to rival a rank 2 true saint. Although Longyun had never fought with Xueyu, he had heard from Longyun that Xueyu was only a rank 1 true saint, but his battle strength was enough to rival a rank 3 true saint. It could be said that the geniuses of the Heaven and Earth Palace could challenge those of a higher rank. A rank 1 true saint like Xueyu who could rival a rank 3 true saint was considered a powerful figure in the Heaven and Earth Palace. Jian Wushuang was also only a rank 1 true saint, but the strength he displayed now was already comparable to a peak 3rd level true saint. Obviously he was much more powerful than Xueyu. Naturally, the experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom all thought that Jian Wushuang was at least a genius from the Primal Palace. Hearing their words, Jian Wushuang felt a little amused. "I'm not from the Heaven Cleaving 3 palaces," Jian Wushuang said directly. "How is that possible? The Heaven Cleaving Alliance should have found out about such a peerless genius like you long ago, and they must have sent an invitation to you," the Magic Note King said. "Yes, the Heaven Cleaving Alliance did send me an invitation to join the 3 palaces. They invited me twice, but unfortunately I rejected both times," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Rejected?" The Magic Note King was stunned. "You rejected the invitation of the 3 palaces?" The Magic Note King was a little surprised. He had heard about the authority of the genius disciples of the 3 palaces. It was a place that countless geniuses in the divine beginning world yearned for. Many geniuses at the monster level would fight to enter the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, but this heavenly sword marquis had received an invitation, but he had rejected it? Magic Note King, whether I am a disciple of the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces has nothing to do with you, right? Jian Wushuang asked in a clear voice. Of course it does. Magic Note King's voice became cold again. If you were a disciple of the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, I might not dare to kill you because of the heaven-cleaving alliance. I would at most give you a punishment. But now that I have asked you and you have denied that you are a disciple of the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, and I have recorded all of this with the mirror token, the heaven-cleaving alliance will have nothing to say even if I kill you now. Even if you really are a disciple of the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, as long as you have denied it, I can kill you. So that's the reason? Jian Wushuang understood, but then he smiled and said, Magic Note King, aren't you a little troublesome? As the king of the divine kingdom, if you want to kill me, just kill me. Do you have to worry so much? Jian Wushuang's words were obviously sarcastic, but the Magic Note King was not angry at all. What a joke. Heavenly Sword Marquis was obviously from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and was so talented. It was reasonable for him to have some misgivings. Even if it spread, no one would laugh at him. On the contrary, if he knew that Jian Wushuang was so talented, if he did not have any misgivings, people would laugh at him and say that he was stupid. It had been many years since the founding of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, and he had experienced countless hardships. However, he was able to survive, and the Magic Note Divine Kingdom was able to survive. In addition to his own tyrannical strength, the most important thing was that he knew what to do and who not to provoke. If Jian Wushuang was really a disciple of the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, he would never dare to kill him. But now he had nothing to worry about. Chapter 30-24. Rank 4 True Saint Heavenly Sword Marquis, you have massacred wantonly within my Magic Note Divine Kingdom. At this point, just the number of true saint experts that have died at your hands has already exceeded 20. If I do not kill you today, how can I intimidate this great divine kingdom? Even if word gets out, others will probably think that my Magic Note Divine Kingdom is easy to bully. So, go to hell. The voice of the Magic Note King was cold and emotionless. As soon as he finished speaking, he slowly raised his right hand. As soon as he raised his hand, a strong rule power gathered and formed a pitch-black light beam in the blink of an eye. The pitch-black light beam did not seem to have any power at first glance. However, as the Magic Note King pointed out, the moment the pitch-black light beam burst out, a strong sound of air being compressed and completely penetrated resounded through the void. This is the power of the dark principles? Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly constricted. He naturally did not dare to underestimate the Magic Note King, who was a rank 4 true saint. Now, the Magic Note King had used the power of the dark principles perfectly. The pitch-black light beam burst out from his finger contained extremely terrifying power. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang surged his divine power. The 30,000-meter-tall golden emperor phantom behind him, with its golden eyes, emitted a terrifying golden light. Jian Wushuang raised his right hand. In an instant, the Blood Mountain Sword suddenly fell down with boundless divine power. The Blood Mountain Sword was blood-red in color. When it fell, it was like a swift and fierce blood-red thunderbolt that fiercely smashed into the black light beam. However, as soon as the two collided, Jian Wushuang was shocked by the terrifying impact force contained in the black beam of light. Then, his divine body shook and his body flew backward like a cannonball. He kept rolling and it took him a long time to get rid of the impact force. In the void, Jian Wushuang regained his balance, but it was obvious that he was in a sorry state. What a terrifying power! This power is too strong. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He had just released all of his divine power. After the battle with Gold King, he knew that his divine power had reached the level of a true saint at the peak of rank 3. With the divine punishment god, his divine power had almost tripled. It should have been above a rank 3 true saint. However, he had been defeated by the Magic Note King in an instant. As expected of a rank 4 true saint. Even a casual finger of the principle is extremely terrifying, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Your divine body didn't collapse after taking my finger head-on. It seems that not only your combat strength is good, but your body protection ability is also excellent. The Magic Note King continued to stare at Jian Wushuang. If a genius like you grows up in the future, you will be terrifying. Unfortunately, although your skills are good, you are trapped in my dragon imprisoning compass formation and have no chance to escape. No matter how strong your body protection ability is, you can only block 1 or 2 or 3 of my attacks. If you attack too many times, you will definitely not be able to block them. In the end, you will still die. dead for sure? Jian Wushuang laughed, with a hint of mockery in his voice. Not long ago, your men said that I would die today, but what happened? They did, and so did you. As for escaping? You think too much. Since I showed up, I have never thought of escaping. Your men are not qualified to let me escape, and neither are you. Jian Wushuang's cold voice slowly echoed in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, he activated the star power in his body. 7-Star Secret Skill Volume 3. As soon as he activated it, the divine power aura on Jian Wushuang's body began to increase at a terrifying speed. He was only an ordinary first-rank true saint, and it was obvious that he had just made a breakthrough. However, in the blink of an eye, his divine power had reached the peak of a first-rank true saint, and in the end, it had even reached the limit of a first-rank true saint. His divine power aura soared, and the strength of his divine power reached a whole new level. In addition, a layer of dark gold armor appeared on his body. He had also used the 9 luminary star armor. After using the divine punishment, my divine power has reached the limit of a rank 3 true saint. I'm almost at the threshold of a rank 4 true saint. After using the 7-star secret skill, my divine power will definitely reach the threshold of a rank 4 true saint. I'm not weak among rank 4 true saints. Finally, I'll use the 9 luminary star armor. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Although the 9 luminary star armor heavenly armor would not increase the strength of his divine power, this secret skill would directly increase the power of his attack. Moreover, it would increase the power of his attack by 9 times. This also meant that his divine power would increase by 9 times. This secret skill was too terrifying. When these secret skills are combined, my current attack power is far stronger than that of an ordinary rank 4 true saint. I might even reach the peak of a rank 4 true saint. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. It's true that the Magic Note King is a rank 4 true saint, but he hasn't reached the peak of a rank 4 true saint yet. I'm afraid that his power is weaker than mine. Come on, let me see how powerful a rank 4 true saint is. Jian Wushuang let out a fierce shout, but his body instantly rushed out. At the same time, a terrifying aura completely pressed down on the Magic Note King. You're courting death. The Magic Note King was also shocked and angry. With a cold voice, he waved his hand and a black hammer appeared. The black hammer was surrounded by a large amount of dark rule power. As he took a step forward, the black hammer instantly smashed out. Boom. It was like a black meteor streaking across the sky. Jian Wushuang also waved the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. With a swing of his sword, a sword light suddenly lit up. The sword light was also silent, but the moment it lit up, it roared. A faint roar of a fierce beast echoed in the world. It was a sword light, but in the blink of an eye, the sword light turned into a huge and ferocious beast head. Spacetime sword art Xiang. The same Xiang sword art, but with Jian Wushuang using several secret skills at the same time, the power of the sword had increased by many times. In the blink of an eye, the sword light collided with the black meteor. Clang. With a loud sound, Jian Wushuang's body shook violently, and then he was smashed down. Obviously, Jian Wushuang was still completely crushed by this collision. Chapter 30-25. Something was not right, so powerful. Jian Wushuang's figure rose up again, but his heart was still full of shock. From the collision just now, he could feel that the Magic Note King was indeed not as powerful as him in terms of strength and power, but the Magic Note King was much more powerful than him in terms of rule comprehension and the absolute arts he created. For example, although the sword skill Xiang was an absolute art that focused on power, it was only at the 2nd level. The Magic Note King was a genuine rank 4 true saint, and the absolute arts he had created were all at the 4th level. There was a gap of 2 levels in absolute arts. Even though the Magic Note King's divine power was inferior to his, he could still crush him in a real fight. If Jian Wushuang was merely shocked by the strength of the Magic Note King, who was a rank 4 true saint, then the Magic Note King was extremely shocked at this moment. I only used divine power and the power of the rule of darkness to attack him. It's normal that I was unable to defeat his divine body. However, I used my own magic weapon and absolute art to attack him. Although I was able to defeat him, I was still unable to defeat his divine body? The Magic Note King's face darkened. It seems like he'll have to spend some effort to destroy his god body. As soon as he finished speaking, Magic Note King flipped his other hand, and a black hammer appeared. 2 black hammers were held in Magic Note King's hands, each of them giving off a terrifying aura. Dark meteor fall. The Magic Note King's eyes turned cold, and the endless power of the rule of darkness surged from his body. Rumble. The world was completely dark as if it had fallen into darkness. In the endless darkness, the two meteors slid down in an instant. With an invincible momentum, they smashed toward Jian Wushuang. Heaven and earth shook. In terms of power, either of the two meteors was much more powerful than the sledgehammer that the Magic Note King had just swung. This move was the strongest move that the Magic Note King had created over a long period of time. If it was at the general level, this move was an advanced level rank 4 secret skill. It was personally executed by the Magic Note King, so the power of this move could only be described as terrifying. This hammer, Jian Wushuang widened his eyes. He could feel the shocking power of the two meteors. In an instant, a supreme sword essence burst out from his body. This sword essence came from the supreme sword essence of the Blood Mountain Sword. The sword essence soared into the sky and swept out. Jian Wushuang himself transformed into the Master of Sword Principle. With the support of this sword essence, his overall battle strength rose to another level. Xiang. Without pausing for a moment, Jian Wushuang directly performed the first move of Xiang. The sword light swung out and collided directly with the two streams of light. However, when the two collided, Jian Wushuang already felt a huge force coming at him. This force suppressed his Blood Mountain Sword and made his arms bend, then the stream of light crushed the Blood Mountain Sword and continued to hit his divine body. Bang! Jian Wushuang groaned. He licked his throat and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. His divine body began to tremble crazily. His internal organs trembled, causing great damage. However, the damage was quickly repaired by his divine power. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang was sent flying again. Your divine body is really amazing. As expected, in addition to the high-level protective armor you're wearing, you must have cultivated a very powerful body-refining secret skill. Otherwise, your divine body would not collapse under my attack. The Magic Note King stood high in the sky. He looked down at Jian Wushuang. However, although your divine body did not collapse directly, you suffered a serious injury under my hammer. Although you've recovered now, it must have consumed a lot of divine power to repair such a serious injury. You might be able to withstand such a scene once or twice, but if you do it a few more times, I'm afraid you won't be able to withstand it. The experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom who were watching the battle nodded in agreement. They could tell that Jian Wushuang had been severely injured, but he had fully recovered with his immortal body and divine power. However, it would take a lot of divine power to recover from such a serious injury, and it would take a lot of divine power to recover after a few more rounds. When his divine power was exhausted, he would definitely die. Magic Note Kingdom, you talk too much nonsense. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold and his voice was extremely cold. If you want to fight, then let's fight. After saying that, Jian Wushuang rushed out again. Without any intention of retreating, he rushed toward Magic Note King. Even though he knew that he was no match for Magic Note King, he did not hesitate to wield his long sword and perform the Xiang move. He wanted to fight head-on with the Magic Note King and determine the outcome of the battle. You're courting death. The Magic Note King laughed disdainfully when he saw this scene. The two black sledgehammers in his hands smashed out again. The same scene happened again. Jian Wushuang was still sent flying and his divine body was seriously injured again. Again? However, after he regained his balance, Jian Wushuang did not back down at all. Instead, he continued to charge forward ferociously. Bang! 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 The two collided repeatedly. Each time, Jian Wushuang was completely crushed and his divine body was heavily injured. However, he did not seem to care at all and continued to charge forward after repairing it with divine power. Just like that, they collided again and again. At first, the Magic Note King thought that Jian Wushuang was reckless. However, after the repeated collisions, the Magic Note King vaguely sensed that something was amiss. No, Jian Wushuang is so talented and can become an immortal saint. He is not a fool. He knows that he is not as strong as me, but he still insists on fighting me head-on. It's too strange to compete with my strength. Magic Note King frowned. It was indeed strange. He had long seen that Jian Wushuang was comprehending the space-time principles. The space-time principles focused on speed, but it was not very good at strength and power. Jian Wushuang's speed and movement skills were so amazing that he should have made full use of his advantage in speed and movement skills, but what was the result? Jian Wushuang had only used his swordsmanship to fight against him blindly, and every time he collided with his divine body, he was seriously injured, but he did not stop at all. This was certainly suspicious. This kid must be planning something. There must be something that I haven't noticed yet. The Magic Note King narrowed his eyes. Chapter 30-26. Upgrade, this kid must be planning something. There must be something that I haven't noticed yet. The Magic Note King narrowed his eyes and began to observe carefully. Bang. Another head-on collision. Jian Wushuang was sent flying as usual and his divine body was seriously injured again. However, after this collision the Magic Note King's expression suddenly changed. No, the power is not right. It's the same swordsmanship, but the power of his sword seems to be a little better than the first one? Yes, it is a little better. The Magic Note King finally noticed it. Jian Wushuang seemed to be sent flying and trampled by the Magic Note King, but the power of Jian Wushuang's sword was also increasing. It was indeed increasing. It's not his divine power that is getting stronger, but his swordsmanship. His swordsmanship is getting stronger. The Magic Note King suddenly raised his head, a rare look of surprise on his face. He finally understood why Jian Wushuang was acting like a fool, blindly clashing with him again and again. He is using me to improve his swordsmanship. A fierce light flashed in the eyes of the Magic Note King. Do you feel it? Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. Yes, just as the Magic Note King had guessed, he was improving his swordsmanship. He had meditated in seclusion for 120 years and created 2 great swordsmanships. One of them, Star Dream, was already in its embryonic form. It was also a 3rd-level absolute art. It was fast, had amazing cutting and tearing abilities and could kill at close range. This move was of great help to Jian Wushuang. He had relied on this move to kill so many true saints in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. However, Star Dream was not suitable for a confrontation of power. The move Xiang was a move that truly valued power. Unfortunately, although Jian Wushuang had created this move, it was still a distance away from the embryonic form of the sword technique. In other words, this sword technique had not been truly completed and was still in the stage where it could be reconstructed and perfected. However, in order to perfect this move, he needed to constantly fight with others and it was best to fight head-on. Therefore, when he fought with Gold King previously, he initially tried to use the Xiang swordsmanship to fight Gold King head-on. However, Gold King's strength was too weak and could not give him much pressure. Therefore, when he fought Gold King head-on, his swordsmanship could not be improved much. But it was completely different when he fought with the Magic Note King. The Magic Note King was a rank 4 true saint. The most powerful skill he created was an advanced rank 4 skill, which also focused on strength and power. In a head-on fight with such an expert, even if Jian Wushuang used all of his secret skill cards and used the Xiang move, he was still completely crushed. This gave Jian Wushuang an opportunity. That was why he kept fighting head-on with the Magic Note King in a seemingly silly manner. While fighting, he was constantly pondering the shortcomings of the move Xiang. During the process of the collision, he was constantly improving this sword skill. Until now, after dozens of collisions, he had really improved this sword skill a lot. Unsurprisingly, the move of Xiang had reached the level of the peak of stage 2 and was still improving. Haha, awesome. Awesome. Magic Note King, let's try again. Jian Wushuang's hearty laughter echoed in the heaven and earth, and he rushed toward Magic Note King again. Damn it. Magic Note King's face immediately darkened. In the surrounding void, the immortal saints of the Magic Note King gathered together and watched the battle attentively. During this time they also discussed among themselves. As expected of the king, his strength is too strong. The battle strength that Heavenly Sword Marquis displayed before was already at the peak of rank 3 true saint realm. I didn't expect him to have so many tricks up his sleeve. Now that he has used so many tricks, his battle strength is probably close to that of a rank 4 true saint. Even so, he still has no room to resist in front of the king. He is completely crushed by the king. Humph. Humph, this Heavenly Sword Marquis is really cheap. He was completely crushed by the king and then he was trampled by the king, but he still laughed so happily. That's right. If I were him, I would have thought of a way to escape long ago. If he continues to fight like this, I'm afraid that his divine power will be completely exhausted before long, and then he will definitely die. The immortal saints were chatting and laughing. They all thought that Jian Wushuang was a complete idiot and also praised the strength of the Magic Note King. But at this moment, shut up. A low shout suddenly sounded. The immortal saints were shocked and immediately looked at Gold King, who was shouting in a low voice. Haven't you noticed that something is wrong? Gold King said in a low voice. Wrong? The immortal saints looked at each other, puzzled. A bunch of idiots. Gold King said in a low voice, do you think that Heavenly Sword Marquis is really stupid? He knew that he couldn't defeat the king, but he still foolishly kept clashing with him? Ridiculous. Didn't you notice that the power of the sword technique that Heavenly Sword Marquis displayed was steadily increasing after clashing with the king? What? His swordsmanship is increasing? How is this possible? The immortal saints were shocked and looked at the battlefield carefully in the next moment. When they saw this, many people's pupils shrank. They also saw that the head-on collision between Jian Wushuang and the Magic Note King was completely crushing. Jian Wushuang was completely crushed. However, after dozens of collisions, Jian Wushuang was still crushed, but not as easily as before. After several more collisions, the unique skill of the Magic Note King could not even crush Jian Wushuang. A third-level unique skill. The sword skill that Heavenly Sword Marquis used when he fought with me was only a relatively strong second-level unique skill, but now the power of his sword has exceeded the scope of a second-level unique skill. He has already touched the threshold of a third-level unique skill. That is to say, during his confrontation with the king, he raised his sword technique Absolute Art student from a rank 2 Absolute Art to a rank 3 Absolute Art, and he is still improving. When Gold King said this, his body could not help but tremble. The surrounding people were completely stunned. Chapter 30:27. Xiang. Gold King's words stirred up a huge wave in the hearts of the experts from the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. How long had the Heavenly Sword Marquis fought with the Magic Note King? Even if they had clashed head-on, they had only clashed dozens of times. In such a short period of time, had the power of his sword techniques increased? From a rank 2 Absolute Art to a rank 3 Absolute Art? Was this not too terrifying? Monster. A real monster. The experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom could not help but exclaim. Even the Magic Note King had an extremely interesting expression on his face. The power from his sword is getting stronger and stronger. Even if I used my strongest move, I wouldn't be able to completely crush him. Furthermore, his sword technique level is still increasing. The Magic Note King's eyes were filled with shock. Moreover, he has collided with me so many times. Previously, his divine body was heavily damaged and it took a lot of divine power to repair it. However, after dozens of collisions, his divine power is still abundant? What's going on? Even the Magic Note King was baffled. He did not know that Jian Wushuang was immersed in comprehension as he collided with him. No, my swordsmanship has improved a lot after clashing with each other and has reached the threshold of the third-level Absolute Art. However, I still feel that I'm missing something very important. Jian Wushuang muttered. Now, because of the soaring power of his swordsmanship, he was not as crushed as before when he fought with the Magic Note King. He was only slightly suppressed. At this moment, he was carefully observing the hammering skills of the Magic Note King. The two black hammers wielded by the Magic Note King contained extremely dense dark rules. The power of the two hammers was also extremely powerful and extremely swift. However, Jian Wushuang soon noticed something else amidst the swift and fierce movements. Is this evil energy? Yes, it's the gas. I know what I lack in swordsmanship, is this kind of indomitable, invincible hostility. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up, and his heart suddenly opened up. After all, he was comprehending the principles of time and space, which were very elusive and not as violent as the fire and thunder. However, Jian Wushuang had created the Xiang swordsmanship, which was a move that focused entirely on power. How can there be no hostility? Rage. I'm going to make my swordplay violent. Jian Wushuang's eyes glittered with golden light. The next moment, the sword style in his hand began to change invisibly. That long sword cleaves out, in an instant shocking power swept, a strong evil spirit swept out, the power of the sword also immediately increased a lot. Bang, 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 bang. The Magic Note King's face became more and more unsightly. His swordsmanship is becoming more and more powerful, and its power is increasing faster and faster. His sword form is also becoming more and more violent. The Magic Note King stared at Jian Wushuang. At first, when he used his most powerful skill, Jian Wushuang could not resist him at all. He was just one strike away from destroying his divine body. Then, even if the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had increased a lot, he could still easily crush him. Just now, although the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had increased to the level of a rank 3 Absolute Art, it was still inferior to his. He could still suppress it. But now, Jian Wushuang waved the same swordsmanship again. Although it was still a little inferior to his, it was enough to put some pressure on him. The improvement speed was incredible. Most importantly, the improvement speed was still going on. Suddenly, this is the time. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly burst out with a shocking light. The 30,000 feet tall Golden Emperor Phantom behind him also flashed with endless golden light. Brr! A deep, angry roar suddenly came from heaven and earth. Jian Wushuang also slashed out with his sword, but the instant he did so, the sword light directly turned into a complete and huge ancient exotic beast. This ancient exotic beast was extremely ferocious, and it was filled with a fierce aura. With a shocking power, it directly attacked. The Magic Note King seemed to have noticed the increase in power of this sword, and in fear, he also swung her two hammers again. Dark meteor shower. Bonk, bonk. The world immediately turned dark. Under this boundless darkness, two dark rays of light instantly descended, and in the blink of an eye, they collided head-on with the ancient strange beast. A loud sound shook the world, and the surrounding void stirred up endless waves. A huge shock wave swept out without restraint. In the middle of the collision, the Magic Note King opened his mouth slightly. He was purely shocked because he had already felt the power coming from his sledgehammer. The power was actually above his. Boom. The void was about to explode, and the Magic Note King staggered back a few steps. As for Jianghu, he was still standing there as if he was not affected at all. He was pushed back. The Magic Note King was pushed back. How is it possible? Impossible. The king was pushed back by a head-on collision? The experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom who were watching the battle widened their eyes in disbelief. Even the Magic Note King himself was completely stunned. As for Jianghu, he stood in the void with a sword in one hand, looking at the long sword in his hand with great excitement. How can a sword technique that focuses purely on power not be filled with evil energy? Only indomitable evil energy can create an unstoppable attack. Only such a sword technique can be considered complete. Jianghu could not help clenching his fist. After the repeated head-on confrontations and clashes with the Magic Note King, the sword skill Xiang created by him was finally perfected. Since then, besides the Star Dream, Jianghu had created the embryonic form of the second sword skill. This sword move of mine should have reached the level of a peak stage 3 secret skill, but it has an amazing evil aura. It's no longer suitable to be named Xiang. Instead, it should be named Evil Xiang, Jianghu thought to himself. Evil Xiang. This sword move had a complete framework and could become the embryonic form of swordsmanship. And just now he had relied on this sword attack to force the Magic Note King back. This was the first time he had defeated the Magic Note King in a head-on collision. Moreover, this was not the least bit fancy. If there was not the slightest bit of luck, it was purely a victory in terms of strength. Just like the Magic Note King, he was now completely stupefied. Chapter 30-28, They Deserve to Die. Peak of Rank 3. His sword skills just now have reached the level of peak of rank 3. The Magic Note King was so shocked that he did not know what to say. At first, it was only a level 2 skill, not even a peak of rank 2 skill, but because of the short fight with him, it directly reached the level of peak of rank 3 skill. Magic Note King, I should thank you. Without you as my sparring partner, it would not be so easy for me to upgrade my sword technique. Jianghu looked at Magic Note King with a faint smile. Magic Note King let out a sigh of relief and finally calmed down. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you win. Your talent is definitely the most terrifying one I have ever seen. I thought you were a genius of the Primal Palace in the Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces, but now it seems that you can definitely enter the legendary Chaos Palace, and it's unknown whether you can find a genius like you in the palace. I can't kill you, so you should leave. The Magic Note King had already asked Jianghu to leave. Hearing this, the experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom changed their expressions, but then they felt relieved. Indeed, the Magic Note King had personally made a move, but they all saw that the Magic Note King really could not kill Jianghu. Since he could not kill Jianghu, he naturally had to let him leave. Jianghu shook his head. Lord of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, you know that I have no enmity with your Magic Note Divine Kingdom. I came to the Magic Note Divine Kingdom to complete a mission of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. I accepted a heaven-grade mission to kill 12 true saint experts under the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, but so far I have only killed 8 of them. Jianghu had already killed 7 people, including Holy Master Huatsang. He had also killed one of the true saints who had surrounded him. However, he still killed 8 people and was 4 short. What do you mean? The Magic Note King stared at Jianghu coldly. My meaning is simple. I haven't completed my task. Of course, I will leave after I complete my task, Jianghu said. You still want to kill 4 true saints in my Magic Note Divine Kingdom? The Magic Note King's voice was filled with anger. That's right. Jianghu looked straight at the Magic Note King without any fear. Seeing this, the Magic Note King could only suppress his anger. He calmly said, Heavenly Sword Marquis, you accepted the mission of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance for the reward of the mission. How about I give you double the reward of the mission? Under normal circumstances, the Magic Note King would never bow his head. However, he could do nothing about it. He knew that he could do nothing to Jianghu. If Jian Wushuang was determined to kill the experts under the command of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, he could not stop him. However, the people Jian Wushuang wanted to kill were all experts under his command, and they were all under his protection. Now that there were so many experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom around, he naturally wanted to protect them as much as possible, no matter what method he used. Double the reward? Jian Wushuang's heart was moved. If he completed this mission alone, he could get 150 million sacred elixirs, which was already a large number. If he got double the reward, it would be 300 million sacred elixirs. Such a large amount of sacred elixirs. Any rank 3 true saint would feel extremely distressed. Of course, for the Magic Note King who had created the Great Divine Kingdom and was an ancient 4th-level true saint, 300 million sacred elixirs should be nothing. Magic Note King, the conditions you mentioned have indeed tempted me, but unfortunately, I'm in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. I don't accept missions. As long as I accept them, I will do my best to complete them. Moreover, I have to complete the mission this time because those people I want to kill deserve to die. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold, his voice reverberated between heaven and earth, and it was obvious that there was no room for negotiation. What a joke. The reason why Jian Wushuang accepted this mission was firstly that it was extremely difficult and stressed him greatly so he could seek a breakthrough. Secondly, it was because the people who were to be killed in this mission deserved to die. Holy Master Huatsang, who had burned 1/10 of the cultivators in a realm into ashes to refine his natal magic weapon, was so cruel that heaven and earth would not tolerate him. The other people on his kill list were also extremely evil. How could Jian Wushuang show mercy to such a person? Therefore, not to mention the double reward, even if he was given 10 times the reward, he would not change his mind. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you are going too far. The Magic Note King was finally completely furious. He had already lowered himself and was willing to pay the double reward, but the Heavenly Sword Marquis still refused and wanted to kill the true saints under him. How could he not be angry? You're going too far? Humph, so what if I'm going too far? Jian Wushuang's eyes were also cold. Magic Note King, I'm too lazy to talk to you. I must kill the remaining 4 people on the list. If you're sensible, go back to your palace. After killing all 4 of them, he'll leave the Magic Note Divine Kingdom and won't have any dealings with you anymore. But if you are stubborn and try to stop me, do you believe that I will slaughter all the true saint experts in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom? Don't you dare. Magic Note King was furious, and his terrifying divine power suddenly pressed toward Jian Wushuang. Do you think I dare? Jian Wushuang was also surging with divine power. With the support of various secret skills, his divine power was even stronger than Magic Note King's. He was not afraid of the Magic Note King at all. The Magic Note King was so angry that his body was trembling, and he stared at Jian Wushuang with his scarlet eyes. Good. 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 The Magic Note King said 3 good words in a row, and each good was almost gnashing his teeth. Heavenly Sword Marquis, just you wait. I want to see how you kill the person I want to protect. After saying that, Magic Note King turned around and left. As for the dragon imprisoning compass formation that had been sealing the area, it was naturally taken away by Magic Note King. Let's go. Since Magic Note King had left, the immortal saints of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom did not dare to stay any longer. They left as quickly as possible. Jian Wushuang looked at their backs and narrowed his eyes. Magic Note King, I hope you can be smarter. Otherwise. Chapter 3029, Threats. The Magic Note King and the others left directly. Jian Wushuang also left immediately and went to the place where the remaining 4 people on the kill list were. This was an ancient sect which had existed for a long time. It had existed since the Magic Note Divine Kingdom was founded. There were many experts in the sect, including more than 10 immortal saints. Jian Wushuang appeared in the void above the sect and looked down. According to the information given by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, one of the 4 remaining experts is staying in the sect all year round. Jian Wushuang moved and directly entered the sect at the same time, his soul power unscrupulously swept out. Jian Wushuang frowned when he checked with his soul power. There were more than 10 immortal saints in the sect. Normally there should be at least 7 or 8 of them staying in the sect. However, in fact, Jian Wushuang only sensed the existence of 5 immortal saints. Only one of them was a true saint and had just made the breakthrough. The other 4 were only false saints. As for the person Jian Wushuang was looking for, he was not in the sect at all. Gone? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Humph. A cold snort, like the wrath of the 9 heavens, suddenly exploded in the sect. Many of the experts and disciples in the sect were instantly shocked. Before long, the few immortal saints appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Who are you? May I know why you are here? A white-haired elder asked with a humble expression. Let me ask you, where is the three-winged elder of the Dark God sect? Jianwu Shuang asked directly. Three-winged elder? The white-haired elder's expression changed and then he said, Your Excellency, three-winged elder left the Dark God sect not long ago. As for where he went, we don't know. He left. Jianwu Shuang's expression was cold. He glanced at the experts of the sect, but he did not get angry. Instead he turned around and left. Soon he was going to another territory. According to the information provided by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, he was going to find the second person on the kill list. When he arrived at the residence of the true saint had also left. It's okay for one person to suddenly leave his residence, but both of them left not long ago. Jianwu Shuang's eyes were cold. He already understood why this had happened. Magic Note King, it seems that you want to force me. Jianwu Shuang thought quickly and made a decision in his heart. In a towering temple. Lord Wu, we just got the news that Heavenly Sword Marquis went to Heaven Lake Forest after leaving the Dark God sect. However, the Heaven Lake Saint had already received our orders and left, so Heavenly Sword Marquis still failed, an enchanting woman said with a wicked smile. Good. Lord Wu also revealed a cold smile. Heavenly Sword Marquis thinks he can do whatever he wants in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom just because he has some strength that the king can't do anything to him. What a joke. The Magic Note Divine Kingdom is our territory. Here the king is the god. Even if the king can't kill him, as long as the king doesn't agree, he can't kill the remaining 4 people on the kill list. Lord Wu was very confident. The Magic Note Divine Kingdom was a great divine kingdom in endless territories. Not only was it powerful, but its influence was also extraordinary. After knowing that he could not do anything to Jianwu Shuang and that Jianwu Shuang would continue to kill the other 4 true saints, the Magic Note King activated his influence to investigate the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and easily found out the contents of Jianwu Shuang's mission. At the same time, he also knew the people on Jianwu Shuang's kill list. Therefore, the Magic Note King immediately ordered the remaining 4 to leave their residence and find a place to hide. If these 4 true saints really wanted to hide, Jianwu Shuang would not be able to find them. Let's find them. Let Heavenly Sword Marquis find them by himself. We don't need to care about him. Lord Wu sneered. However, just as Lord Wu was feeling proud, Palace Master, something bad has happened. A message suddenly came. The person who had sent this message was a rank 2 true saint under his command. What's wrong? Lord Wu immediately asked. It's Heavenly Sword Marquis. He's killed his way to the Heaven Magus Palace, the rank 2 true saint said anxiously. What did you say? Lord Wu's expression changed drastically. The Heaven Magus Palace was a large-scale sect under the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. And most importantly, the Palace Master of the Heaven Magus Palace was Lord Wu himself. How could it be? There is no one on his kill list in the Heaven Magus Palace. How could he kill his way to the Heaven Magus Palace? Lord Wu shouted with a trace of fear in his eyes. There were many experts in the Heaven Magus Palace. But these experts would not have any room to fight against Jianwu Shuang. If Jianwu Shuang wanted to, he could kill all the experts in the Heaven Magus Palace alone. Palace Master, Heavenly Sword Marquis did come and kill us 3 true saints. He also left a message. This is just a lesson. In 3 months he will kill the last 4 people on the list. If one of them escapes, he will kill 10 more true saints in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. If all 4 escape, he will kill all the immortal saints in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. The rank 2 true saints said with fear. Hearing this, Lord Wu was immediately shocked and angry. However, besides being shocked and angry, there was more fear. He thought that as long as the 4 people hid and Jianwu Shuang could not find them, everything would be fine. But now, it was obvious that Jianwu Shuang was not a good person. He was decisive in the killing. He did not need any reason and did not give you any chance. As long as one of the last 4 people on the list escaped, he would have to use the lives of the 10 true saints of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom to make up for it. If all 4 of them escaped, he would go on a killing spree. Madman, this fellow is a complete madman. Lord Wu growled. Lord, Heavenly Sword Marquis is clearly forcing us to hand over those 4 people. If we hand them over, the majesty of the king will probably be instantly swept away. But if we don't hand them over, Heavenly Sword Marquis doesn't seem to be joking. Furthermore, he does indeed have the strength to slaughter many immortal saints. The enchanting woman said solemnly. I know. Lord Wu nodded slightly, and his expression was extremely unsightly. After a while he stood up. There's no rush. They'll go see the king and let him make the decision. Chapter 30:30, Countermeasures inside the palace. which was entirely made of lilac crystals. Lord Wu had reported Jian Wushuang's attack on the Heaven Magus Palace to the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, who was waiting outside the palace. In the middle of the palace, the Magic Note King was sitting on a lofty throne with a gloomy face. In front of him, there was a vague figure floating in the air. This hazy figure was obviously the embodiment of the consciousness of an expert. Senior Martial Brother, that Heavenly Sword Marquis is simply going too far. However, Junior Martial Brother can't do anything to him, so I can only seek your help, Senior Martial Brother, the Magic Note King said solemnly. If others were to hear the Magic Note King's words, they would definitely be shocked. This was because no one in the outside world knew that the Magic Note King had another Senior Martial Brother. After all, he was already a powerful rank 4 true saint, and his senior brother, how powerful was he? Junior Brother, I already know about this matter you mentioned. Unfortunately, I can't help you, the hazy figure said directly. Why? The Magic Note King asked anxiously. It's very simple. That Heavenly Sword Marquis battle strength is no weaker than yours. In a head-on confrontation even you can't compare to him. Although my strength is slightly stronger than yours, I'm only at the peak of the rank 4. Even if I join hands with you I can at most suppress him but I can't kill him. In the end I can't do anything to him either, the hazy figure said. We can't kill him together but you have a suppression-type holy treasure. We can suppress him together, the Magic Note King said seriously. He knew his senior brother very well. Not only was he powerful but he also had a lot of treasures. His senior brother had an extremely rare suppression-type holy treasure, and it was of a high level. As long as they could suppress Jian Wushuang, they did not have to worry about not being able to suppress him. I can suppress him, but I will not help you unless it is a hatred that will not rest until one of us is dead, the hazy figure said. The Magic Note King was stunned. He looked up and asked, Senior Brother, are you worried about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? Yes. The hazy figure nodded. Junior Brother, according to what you said, Heavenly Sword Marquis is only a rank 1 true saint, and it is very likely that he has just broken through, but his battle strength is enough to rival a rank 4 true saint. What does this mean? It means that he is a genius, a super genius, a super monster. Such a super monster and he is from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, how can he be easily suppressed by you? But he has not admitted that he is a genius of the Heaven-Cleaving 3 palaces, said the Magic Note King. If he doesn't admit it himself, doesn't that mean that he isn't? The hazy figure shook his head and smiled. No matter what, I have gone to the 3rd heaven to explore, and I have seen a genius of the Heaven-Cleaving 3 palaces. That genius has never admitted to outsiders that he is a member of the Heaven-Cleaving 3 palaces because they want to temper themselves, so they will not easily expose their identity. And the genius I've seen is a 2nd-level true saint, and he's been a 2nd-level true saint for a long time, and his battle strength is only comparable to a rank 4 true saint. Such a genius can have a certain status in the 3 palaces, and this Heavenly Sword Marquis has just broken through to the rank 1 true saint, and he's already able to fight you head-on, and he even has the upper hand in a head-on fight. Such a terrifying talent is dozens of times more outstanding than the Heaven-Cleaving Palace genius I've seen hundreds of times. Such a super monster is definitely one of the most terrifying geniuses in the Primal Chaos Palace. Such a super monster is not only highly regarded by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, but also to a large extent, the master of the principles of the Alliance has appeared. Those who want to take them as their personal disciples, especially a genius like the Heavenly Sword Marquis, I'm afraid that there are more than 1 or 2 who want to take him as their personal disciple. In other words, not only does Heavenly Sword Marquis have the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance behind him, but he also has the master of a principal master. How can we afford to offend such a person? The Magic Note King's expression turned solemn. Of course, he understood what his senior brother had said. He had asked Jian Wushuang in detail whether he came from the Heaven-Cleaving 3 palaces before making his move. If Jian Wushuang really came from the 3 palaces, he would not dare to kill him. Senior brother, this is just your guess, but what if he is not from the 3 palaces? The Magic Note King was still unwilling to give up. Even if he is not, since he can become a heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, he must have shown his talent on the way to completing the mission. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance must have noticed him long ago, and such a genius will definitely be noticed by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance from time to time. If we join hands to suppress Heavenly Sword Marquis, there is still more than an 80% chance that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will come to us directly, the shadowy figure said with certainty. In any case, as long as we make a move, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will target us no matter what. Moreover, the Heavenly Sword Marquis has only killed a few of your true saints. At most you will lose some face. It is not a real feud that will not rest until one of us is dead. Why do you have to take such a big risk to deal with him? Junior brother, you have become the king of a region for too long. But you have to remember that after our sect was destroyed and our master died, the two of us became stray dogs. At that time, in order to survive, we used all kinds of methods. How could we still care about our ego? In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. The strong are respected. What is face? Only survival is the most important thing. The blurry figure was very open-minded. It was just a little bit of face. If he lost it, he would lose it. How could he risk his life just for a little bit of face? I understand. The Magic Note King nodded slightly. Obviously, he had been persuaded by the blurry figure. It's good that you understand. The hazy figure said, how about this? Don't you want to lose face? Then do your best to minimize the loss of face. On the surface, you can still protect the 4 people under you unyieldingly. On the other hand, tell your most trusted person to meet Heavenly Sword Marquis. Tell him the location of the 4 people and let him kill them. Hearing this, the Magic Note King could not help but glare. On the surface, he pretended to be very tough in protecting his subordinates, but in the dark, he told the Heavenly Sword Marquis where the 4 people were hiding? This method. That Heavenly Sword Marquis only wants to complete his mission, but he has no intention of becoming your enemy. There's no need for you to lose so much face. As long as you tell him the location of the 4 people, he should be able to take this opportunity to step down, said the hazy figure. Got it? Thank you, senior brother. The Magic Note King nodded. He already knew what to do. Chapter 30-31. Submit. The hazy figure quickly disappeared, and a moment later, Lord Wu, who had been waiting outside the palace, walked in. Monarch. Lord Wu stood there respectfully. Do you know where those 4 are hiding? Magic Note King looked down. Of course I do. I personally arranged for them to hide. Lord Wu nodded. That's good. Make a trip to meet Heavenly Sword Marquis and tell him where the 4 of them are hiding. Also, pass a message to me, the Magic Note King said. I'm going to meet Heavenly Sword Marquis? Lord Wu was stunned. He wanted him to meet Heavenly Sword Marquis and tell him where the 4 of them were hiding. Was the Magic Note King going to lower his head and admit defeat? Remember, when you meet the Heavenly Sword Marquis, don't let the third person know, and don't let anyone know that it was I who ordered you to tell the Heavenly Sword Marquis where the 4 of them were hiding. You must remain extremely unyielding to the outside world, and you must swear to protect the 4 of them with your life. Do you understand? The Magic Note King added. When he heard this, Lord Wu instantly understood. He was not stupid. After thinking about it, he naturally knew the intention of the Magic Note King. Go. The Magic Note King waved his hand. Yes. Lord Wu answered respectfully and then left. On a peaceful barren mountain, Jianghu, who was wearing a gray robe and a gray mask, was sitting cross-legged on a giant rock with his eyes slightly closed, as if he was waiting for something. Soon, a figure appeared in front of him. It was Lord Wu. Are you here? Jianghu opened his eyes and looked at Lord Wu. You knew I would come? Lord Wu said in a low voice as he stared at Jianghu. Of course, unless the Magic Note King is really capable of killing me, he can only send someone to negotiate with me, Jianghu said with a sneer. Lord Wu's expression was uncertain. After a while, he waved his hand and threw a token to Jianghu, saying, My king asked me to give this to you. After saying that, Lord Wu did not care about Jianghu's reaction and turned to leave. Jianghu took the token and scanned it with his consciousness. However, a playful smile appeared on his face. Are you finally willing to give in? Jianghu sneered in his heart, but he was not surprised at all. The Magic Note King was able to create a great divine kingdom. He was not a reckless fool. He was also smart. He should know the consequences of completely falling out with him. The consequences were not a joke. Moreover, it was just 4 true saint subordinates. It was nothing to the Magic Note King. It was just a loss of face and prestige. It was obviously not worth taking such a huge risk just for a little bit of face and prestige. And now, the Magic Note King's methods were rather wise and smart. On the surface, he still pretended to be tough and wanted to protect the 4 of them, putting on an act in front of the experts under him. On the other hand, he sent someone close to him to quietly tell him the location of the 4 of them, asking him to kill them. I killed the 4 people to complete the task and also because they were extremely evil and worth killing. As for me and the Magic Note King, there is no need to make things too difficult. Since he is willing to submit to me, I will accept his offer. Jianghu smiled faintly and then went straight to the place where the 4 people were hiding. They were still in the territory of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. However, it was an extremely quiet place where almost no one would come and go. It was a desolate forest. There was a swamp in the deepest part of the forest. One of the last 4 people on Jian Wushuang's kill list was hiding in the swamp. The huge swamp was completely covered by a layer of restriction. Inside the restriction there was a towering and extremely huge palace, deep in the palace. Ah, no. Sir, please spare my life. Spare my life. Shrill and crazy screams echoed throughout the entire palace. Many people were screaming. It was obvious that they were suffering from extreme pain. The screams lasted for more than an hour before they gradually subsided. Clang. A door in the inner hall suddenly opened. Then, a middle-aged man in a golden robe walked out of the door with his chest open and his feet bare. The middle-aged man had a bewitching smile on his face and there was a trace of blood on the side of his mouth. He stood in front of the door and glanced at the inside of the hall. Go and clean up the inside. Carry the 2 people who were killed out. Yes. Immediately, more than a dozen maidservants in beautiful clothes walked into the inner palace. Looking at these maidservants, the middle-aged man's lips curled into a sinister smile. Because he was targeted by Jian Wushuang, he had no choice but to hide in this swamp and did not dare to show his face. However, he was a person who enjoyed himself in peace. Even if he hid here, he brought many maidservants and beauties with him. These maidservants and beauties were all for his enjoyment. Otherwise, it would not be a big deal if he hid here alone for a short period of time. However, if he hid here for a long time, he would probably go crazy. Not long after, the middle-aged man appeared in the main hall. He sat upright on the majestic throne and took out a token to check the information that was transmitted from the token. That Heavenly Sword Marquis actually went to the Heaven Magus Palace? How dare he? The middle-aged man's expression was extremely cold, but at the same time he felt a hint of worry. This Heavenly Sword Marquis is so decisive in his killing, and the king clearly has no way to deal with him. In the end, the king will not give in to him and hand me over, right? No, definitely not. The king is such a lofty existence. He has always been a man of his word in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, and I am an expert under him. It is impossible for him not to protect me with all his strength. If he really hands me over, then his prestige in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom will be completely swept away. He will definitely not do so. The middle-aged man was constantly consoling himself. And very quickly he received news that the Magic Note King had personally sent word. His stance was extremely tough, and he even said that he had paid a huge price to invite experts to personally rush to the Magic Note Divine Kingdom to help him. As long as the Heavenly Sword Marquis dared to make a move, he would immediately kill him. Haha, as expected, what sort of character is the king? Why would he submit to the Heavenly Sword Marquis? If the Heavenly Sword Marquis was a little smarter, he could just leave right now. If he doesn't leave, he will definitely die. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He really wished that the Heavenly Sword Marquis could die right away. That way he would not have to hide here. However, he did not know that the Heavenly Sword Marquis that he longed for had already arrived at his hiding place. Chapter 30-32. Mission accomplished. In the void above the swamp, Jian Wushuang looked down at the towering temple with cold eyes. The first person is hiding here? How remote. Jian Wushuang sneered in his heart. At the same time, his soul power had sensed the presence of a large number of maids and beauties in the temple. He was clearly hiding from the pursuit, but he still brought so many maids and beauties with him for his enjoyment. He really deserves to die. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang dived down. Boom. The restriction that had always existed in the sky above the swamp was broken by Jian Wushuang in an instant, and he directly charged into the palace. The golden-robed middle-aged man sitting in the main hall also looked up in horror. When he looked up, he found Jian Wushuang, who had entered the palace. He was wearing a gray robe and a gray, cold mask, which was obviously the attire of a member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. There was only one person from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance who might come to kill him. Heavenly Sword Marquis, it's Heavenly Sword Marquis. The gold-robed middle-aged man turned pale with fright, and his heart turned cold instantly. He immediately began to flee. At the same time, he immediately wanted to send a message to the highest level of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, Lord Wu. How is it possible? My hiding place is so remote. How did Heavenly Sword Marquis find me? Could it be that the maidservants around me, the beauties, leaked the news? The golden-robed middle-aged man kept growling in his heart. At first, he thought that it was the people around him who leaked the news so that Jian Wushuang could find them. But soon he denied this guess. Because he had already set up a special magic array in this swamp, which was the restriction that Jian Wushuang had just broken. The restriction could prevent the handmaidens and beauties from communicating with the outside world. Except for him, no one could communicate with the outside world. The news that he was hiding here could not have been leaked by someone close to him. Since it was not the maids and beauties who leaked the news, then the person who leaked the news. Could it be the king? The golden-robed middle-aged man just thought of this. Buzz. A silver light appeared beside him like a ghost, and at the same time, a cold sword light swept toward him. The golden-robed middle-aged man was only a rank 1 true saint, and his strength was average. Even before Jian Wushuang had broken through to the immortal saint realm, he could easily kill this man's rank 1 true saint. Now that he had broken through to the immortal saint realm, his battle strength was strong enough to rival a rank 4 true saint. Killing such a rank 1 true saint was as easy as killing a chicken or slaughtering a dog. After consuming 2 drops of the god-burning poison, the golden-robed middle-aged man's eyes were wide open, but his consciousness was gradually dissipating. When his consciousness was about to completely dissipate, he had completely figured it out. The Magic Note King's tough attitude toward the outside world was just an act. In fact, the Magic Note King had already submitted to Heavenly Sword Marquis and told him where he was hiding. Unfortunately, it was too late for him to figure it out. Whoosh. A moment later, Jian Wushuang set off again toward the second person's hiding place. The last 4 people on the must-kill list were hiding in 4 different places. However, Jian Wushuang already knew about these 4 places. All he had to do was to find them one by one and kill them. His movements were very fast and neat. The 4 people had not received any news and thought that the Magic Note King would try his best to protect them. In the end, they all died under Jian Wushuang's sword. After killing these 4 people, all 12 people on the must-kill list had died. Naturally, Jian Wushuang had completed the heaven-level task. He did not plan to stay in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom and left directly. However, no one in the outside world knew about their deaths. The experts under the Magic Note Divine Kingdom had not received any news. Most of them thought that the 4 people were still hiding or had left the Magic Note King, but they did not know that they had died at Jian Wushuang's hands. Therefore, the reputation and dignity of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom were barely preserved. In the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, there was a secret lair of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. In the secret lair, Xue Dong King was already waiting for him. Xue Dong King, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Jian Wushuang appeared in front of Xue Dong King with an apologetic look on his face. Haha, not at all. Besides, it's worth waiting for decades to see the good show between you and the Magic Note King. Xue Dong King laughed. Deep down, Xue Dong King still had not completely calmed down. He had not left immediately after giving Jian Wushuang the god-burning poison. Instead, he had stayed behind to watch the battle between Jian Wushuang and the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. He had seen it clearly. Jian Wushuang had defeated Gold King at the beginning, then massacred many true saint experts of the Magic Note Divine Fruit, and finally the king of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom had personally arrived. In the end, he could not do anything to Jian Wushuang. He was even forced back by Jian Wushuang in a head-on confrontation. This scene shocked Xue Dong King more than he had ever seen before. At that time, he could not help roaring in his heart. A rank 1 true saint is fighting against a rank 4 true saint. Does he still want to live? Xue Dong King was more and more impressed with Jian Wushuang, and he could not see through him. Xue Dong King, wait for me. I'll go and hand in the task. Jian Wushuang immediately walked to the counter. At the counter, Jian Wushuang took out his identity token and began to hand in the task. When the purple-robed elder who handed in the task to Jian Wushuang knew Jian Wushuang's identity and the task he had completed, his heart was filled with excitement. The secret lair was located in the Magic Note Divine Land. The person in charge of the lair was well aware of what was happening in the Magic Note Divine Land, so he was naturally amazed. It did not take long for Jian Wushuang's mission to be completed. At the same time, he received a reward of 150 million sacred elixirs. Xue Dong King, this is for you. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and handed an interspatial ring to Xue Dong King. Xue Dong King took it and took a look. His body suddenly trembled. Brother Heavenly Marquis, what are you doing? You sent me 100 drops of god-burning poison. It's very expensive, but I haven't given you the sacred elixirs. Jian Wushuang smiled. But isn't this too much? Xue Dong King said immediately. It was not his fault for being shocked. There were 100 million sacred elixirs in the interspatial ring that Jian Wushuang gave him. 100 million. He had only used 40 million sacred elixirs to buy the 100 drops of god-burning venom, but now Jian Wushuang had given him more than twice that. Chapter 30-33, Return to the 9 Realms of the Golden Crow, take it. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He had a certain friendship with Xue King, but it was not very deep. But this time, when he sent a message to Xue King asking him to send him some god-burning poison, he told him in detail about his situation, including the fact that the surrounding area was completely sealed and he was only allowed to enter and not leave. In the end, Xue King did not hesitate at all and directly agreed. This made Jian Wushuang feel very touched and grateful. A friend like Xue King was worth making a deep friendship with. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was not stingy and directly took out 100 million sacred elixirs. The extra 60 million sacred elixirs were his gratitude to Xue King for taking the risk for him. Looking at the interspatial ring in his hand, Xue King did not hesitate and said, "Okay, I'll take it." Xue King had seen Jian Wushuang slaughter many experts of the magic note divine kingdom. Many true saint experts had died at Jian Wushuang's hands, and those true saint experts were all rich. Therefore, Jian Wushuang had gained a lot of wealth. In addition to the reward for this mission, it could be said that he had made a lot of money, so he was not too unreasonable. "Brother Heavenly Marquis, what are your plans next?" Xue King looked at Jian Wushuang. "I still have some private matters to deal with," Jian Wushuang said. "In that case, let's split up again. I'll go to the Barbarian King team. Brother Heavenly Marquis, if you have any problems in the future like this time, you can look for me at any time," Xue King said. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded. Soon they separated. Jian Wushuang was already planning his next move. "I've already reached the Immortal Saint Realm and I've just reached the rank 1 True Saint Realm. Logically speaking, my strength is still rising. As long as I have the opportunity, my strength can be greatly improved in a short time." Opportunity. In the secret realm, I promised the spirit of the secret realm that when I reached the Immortal Saint Realm, I would go to the secret realm again to accept the test left by the master of the secret realm. Now that my realm has reached, I should fulfill my promise, Jian Wushuang muttered. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light, but he had an idea in his heart. Then he directly set off. The endless territory was vast and boundless. The magic note divine kingdom occupied a total of 36 territories, which was already an extremely large divine kingdom. However, compared to the entire endless territory, it was only a drop in the ocean. The magic note divine kingdom was also very far away from the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang was now a member of the Heaven Cleaving Alliance, and he was also a heaven-level member. His authority was not small, and the secret nests of the Heaven Cleaving Alliance were scattered all over the divine beginning world. There was also a secret lair of the Heaven Cleaving Alliance around the territory of the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Through the spatial passage, Jian Wushuang appeared directly in the secret lair of the Heaven Cleaving Alliance around the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. After that, Jian Wushuang spent some sacred elixirs and obtained an intelligence report. This intelligence report was about the changes that had occurred in the years since Jian Wushuang left the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. It had been nearly 300 years since Jian Wushuang left the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. These 300 years were a long time for Jian Wushuang in this life. In the vast void, Jian Wushuang flew while carefully reading the piece of information in his hand. As expected, after I left, a large number of mysterious experts arrived, including many principals masters. Looking at the information in his hand, Jian Wushuang secretly praised. In order to get Leng Rushuang back from the Supreme Emotion Valley, he had used his last trump card, the life level pressure, and even used the heaven cleaving skill to kill several disciples of the Supreme Emotion Valley at the True Saint level. However, because of this, he was targeted by the power of the will of heaven. If not for Taoist Shen Shen's help in secret and the teleportation token he had obtained from the secret realm, he would not have been able to escape that day. After he left, a large number of top experts from the Third Heaven arrived. According to the information provided by the Heaven Slaying Alliance, there were many experts who had arrived. They searched wantonly and almost turned the entire 9 realms of the Golden Crow upside down, especially the places that Jian Wushuang had been to and the Pill Sun sacred world where he was born. They searched the entire place several times. Moreover, anyone who had a certain connection with Jian Wushuang had been interrogated, but in the end they still could not find any trace of Jian Wushuang. Not only the 9 realms of the Golden Crow but also a large number of surrounding territories had also been searched by those experts. However, after searching for more than 100 years without any news, those experts still left. By now, the 9 realms of the Golden Crow had calmed down again. Humph, although the information from the Heaven Cleaving Alliance says that all the experts have left, I'm afraid that it's not absolute. If I'm not wrong, although the experts have left on the surface, I'm afraid that there will still be a few experts left in the dark. However, they won't be searching as recklessly as before. Instead, they will go into hiding and wait for me to appear, Jian Wushuang said with a cold snort. He knew very well how terrifying his enemies were: the 3 great Saint Realm experts, the 4 great divine clans, and the 8 direction celestial sect. How terrifying were any of them? Any one of them was enough to shake the entire divine beginning realm. Such a super force had countless experts under their command, and their desire to kill him was even more intense. Even though they had searched for hundreds of years without finding any trace of him, these forces would never give up. They would definitely be willing to let some experts stay here and wait for tens of thousands of years. They would be willing to wait for hundreds of thousands of years. After all, these super forces should not lack experts. As for the will of the heavenly Tao, Jian Wushuang could not help looking up. Although the world seemed calm, Jian Wushuang knew that the power of the will of the heavenly Tao in this territory was much stronger than before. As expected, the will of the heavenly Tao had been keeping an eye on this territory. He had just stepped into this territory, so it was not a big deal. However, once he fought in this territory and revealed his powerful strength or revealed his trump card, the power of the will of the heavenly Tao would immediately be sensed. The experts hiding in this territory would definitely come to kill him at the first moment. Fortunately, my purpose of returning to the 9 realms of the Golden Crow is only for the opportunity in the secret realm. I don't want to have any friction or fight with others. At most, I just want to walk around. As long as I don't make a move, the power of the will of heaven and the experts hiding in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow will never know that I have returned. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, put on a strange smile. Chapter 30-34. Entered the secret manual again. The 9 realms of the Golden Crow. A total of 9 realms. The Heavenly Curve World. Inside a towering hall in the middle of a densely packed group of buildings made up of countless palaces and pavilions. Supervisor Xiao, my palace master, said that this conflict is purely caused by the Sword Alliance taking the initiative to stir up trouble. That's why the Heavenly Void Alliance retaliated directly. Even if your people were all killed by the Heavenly Void Alliance, it's their own fault. However, Supervisor Xiao, you've now gathered an army at the border of our Heavenly Void world and made an aggressive stance. What? Don't tell me that the Sword Alliance wants to start a war with our Heavenly Void Palace? A brown-haired elder with a childlike face stood in the hall. His expression was cold and filled with anger, and his words were loud and clear. Beside him were many experts from the Sword Alliance. They looked at the white-haired elder with a childlike face with ice-cold eyes, and some of them even carried killing intent. At the top of the great hall, a woman in purple armor stood there. This woman's appearance was extremely beautiful, but she was extremely cold and arrogant. Her eyes were cold and did not contain the slightest bit of sympathy. There was also an ice-cold and murderous aura between her brows. Yes, it was the murderous aura. This murderous aura was very strong and everyone in the hall could clearly feel it. However, what was surprising was that the aura on this woman's body was not very strong. She had barely reached the level of a divine master. The people below were all great divine masters and above. However, it was this kind of woman that emitted the murderous aura that caused many great divine master level experts below to not even dare to raise their heads. Starting a war? So what if I want to start a war? The voice of the woman in purple armor was ice cold. It reverberated throughout this palace. Go back and tell the Heavenly Void Palace Lord that I need him to give me an explanation for this matter. Also, I don't have that much patience. 3 months later, if he doesn't give me an explanation, the army of experts from my Sword Alliance will directly cross the border and enter the Heavenly Void Palace's territory. Supervisor Xiao, aren't you going too far? What kind of status does my palace master have? Why would he give you an explanation? That white-haired elder with a childlike face shouted in a low voice. Your palace master's status? Hee, back then when my young master was around, your palace master didn't even dare to appear in front of my young master. With just a word from young master, that Heavenly Void Palace master didn't even dare to utter a fart. Now that my young master has left, he immediately jumped up. What a joke. What a joke. Listen carefully. Even if my young master is no longer around, the Sword Alliance is still not something that any Tom, Dick, or Harry can easily bully. At the very least, a mere Heavenly Void Palace master does not have the qualifications to do so. The purple-armored woman shouted in a low voice. You. The white-haired elder pointed at the purple-armored woman. His eyes were burning with anger, but it was not good for him to flare up. Blood lamp, chase this old thing out. If he dares to say any more nonsense on the way, kill him immediately and send his head back to the Heavenly Void Palace master, the purple-armored woman shouted. Yes. Divine Master Blood Lamp immediately walked up from the Great Hall and chased the white-haired elder out. The white-haired elder did not dare to get angry again, afraid that Divine Master Blood Lamp would really kill him. The other experts in the hall reluctantly raised their heads to look at the purple-armored woman, but they quickly lowered their heads. Obviously, they were all in awe of the purple-armored woman. Although the scene just now happened in the hall, it was witnessed by one person from beginning to end. This person was Jianghu. He was in the void not far from the buildings, and his soul power had already covered this place. Xue, this girl is really good. Jianghu secretly praised her. The purple-armored woman in the hall with great majesty and killing intent was his maid, Xiang. He had killed Realm Lord Tianxu and occupied the Tianxu world. Then he moved the sword alliance he created to this place. Under his tyrannical methods, the Heaven Curve world completely respected the sword alliance. After that, there was a huge change and he had no choice but to leave the Golden Crow 9 realms. When he left, he also sent a message to Xiang telling him a few things. After that, he did not know what happened. But now, it seemed that Xiang's methods were extremely powerful. Even without his deterrence, he still managed the Sword Alliance and the entire Heaven Curve world in an orderly manner. The experts in the Heaven Curve world were filled with reverence toward him. The Sword Alliance was even more powerful because of the corpse puppet army that he had left behind. The only thing that it lacked was probably that there was no immortal saint in charge of it. However, the Golden Crow 9 realms had the rules set by Bone Emperor, so no one dared to violate them. It was very difficult for the forces of the other realms to invade the Heaven Curve world. For example, the Heaven Void Palace would be defeated this time. Xue is probably more skillful than Yin Sewer of the Red Stone Castle, Jianghu thought. He only came here to understand the current situation of the Sword Alliance, but he did not show up and did not send a message to Xiang and the others. Xiang and the others did not know that he had returned. After all, when those mysterious experts from the third firmament had descended, some of those experts had looked for Xiang and the experts under him. If nothing went wrong, Xiang and the others must have been soul-searched by someone with powerful means and all their memories had been read. Only when they were certain that Xiang and the others did not know his location, could those experts let them off. However, they probably let them go to catch a big fish. If Jianghu's guess was correct, Xiang and the Divine Masters under the Sword Alliance who were close to Jianghu must have left a special mark on their bodies. Once Jianghu appeared in front of them, the mark would be triggered. The experts hiding in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow would immediately detect him and come to kill him as soon as possible. Therefore, it was impossible for Jianghu to contact Xiang and the others, let alone appear in front of them. After having a certain understanding of the Sword Alliance, Jianghu returned to the Pill Sun Sacred World. The Pill Sun Sacred World did not change much. Jianghu only took a look at Crimson Rock Castle, and then he went straight to the Secret Realm. The entrance to the Secret Realm was here. It was not Jianghu's first time here, so he was naturally familiar with it. Soon he opened the passage of the Secret Realm and entered the Secret Realm. Entering the Secret Realm and breaking through the obstacles in front of him, Jianghu arrived at the true core of the Secret Realm in less than 15 minutes. At the same time he saw the spirit of the Secret Realm again. Chapter 30-35. The probability was low. Elder Gu. Jianghu looked at the plain-clothed elder in front of him with a humble expression. You're here. Elder Gu also looked at Jianghu with a smile on his face. You must have just become an immortal saint, right? Yes. Jianghu nodded. According to what I said, I came to the Secret Realm as soon as I became an immortal saint. I just don't know if I have a chance to get the opportunity left by the Master of the Secret Realm. The opportunity left by Master can only be obtained by completely passing the test set by him. The minimum threshold of this test is the Immortal Saint. You've just barely met the requirement to accept the test. As for whether you can pass it, I don't know, Elder Gu said. Elder Gu admired Jianghu very much. Back then Jianghu had shown extraordinary skills and talent in the Secret Realm. Some of his skills even made Elder Gu astonished. For example, Jianghu's soul had been killed 6 or 7 times in a space in order to get the corpse puppet army to accept the test. In the end he was still alive and well. Elder Gu knew that Jianghu was extraordinary and had great secrets. Therefore he hoped that Jianghu could pass the test left by his master and inherit his master's legacy. However, whether he could really succeed or not, it depended on Jianghu's ability. How about this? Elder Gu waved his hand. Whoosh. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Jianghu. It was a bald man who was more than 2 meters tall and as strong as a hill. This bald man was lifeless. He was obviously a corpse puppet, but his aura was very impressive. He had reached the level of a third-level true saint. Before you really go to the master's test, you should fight with this corpse puppet. If you can't defeat it, you should cultivate for a while before coming back, said Elder Gu. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and immediately looked at the corpse puppet. Let's do it, Elder Gu said indifferently. As soon as the corpse puppet next to him received his order, it instantly turned into a flowing light and flashed out. A golden axe appeared in the corpse puppet's hand. The corpse puppet held the axe with both hands at the same time. Whoosh! A streak of golden light flashed out, which was extremely majestic and domineering. It whistled and slashed toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's blood mountain sword appeared in his hands immediately. Without any fancy moves, the blade of the sword directly smashed toward the golden light with astonishing divine power. Clang! A low sound of metal colliding rang out, and the golden light dimmed. Under the pressure of Jian Wushuang's terrifying power, the golden axe in the corpse puppet's hand was directly thrown away, and its entire body was instantly pushed back. In just one exchange, the corpse puppet, which had reached the level of a rank 3 true saint, had been completely defeated. You defeated this corpse puppet cleanly. Elder Gu nodded slightly, but he frowned slightly. Elder Gu, what do you think? Jian Wushuang looked over. Your strength is indeed good, but if I'm not wrong, the reason why you were able to defeat this corpse puppet so easily was because of your divine power, which is much stronger than that of an ordinary rank 3 true saint. In other words, your strength is only strong, but in other aspects, although it's very good, it's not ridiculously strong, Elder Gu said. Jian Wushuang directly admitted this. Indeed, his strength was mainly reflected in his strength and power. Apart from his strength and power, his other aspects were similar to those of the top geniuses in the divine beginning world. It's impossible to pass the test left by Master if you only have strong strength and power, Elder Gu said in a deep voice. The test Master left behind is very special. In the test, no matter how strong your power is, it's useless. Master's test is purely based on your comprehension of the principles and the Tao. Not to mention your power, even if you know many secret arts and special techniques, you won't be able to use them during the test. Therefore, the chances of you succeeding in the test left by Master are very low. What? Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. It was purely a test of comprehension of principles and Tao. Power was useless? After all, he had just reached the immortal saint realm and his strength was still in the explosive stage. His comprehension of principles and Tao could be greatly improved at this level. In other words, his strength had not reached the limit of this level. Under such circumstances, it was obviously very disadvantageous for him to pass the test left by the Master of the secret realm. It is indeed very unlikely for you to pass the test left by Master. However, Master has already set a rule that the same cultivator can challenge the test 3 times. Since you are here today, you can try it first. Even if you fail, you will at least have a certain understanding of the test and have a good idea of it. In the future, when you come to challenge me for the second time, you will be more confident, Elder Gu said. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. In that case, he'll give it a try today. There was a hint of anticipation in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He really wanted to know what kind of test the owner of this secret realm, a principal master who could open a great secret realm, had left behind. Whoosh! A burst of majestic divine power condensed in the void in front of Jian Wushuang, and in the blink of an eye, it formed a dark tunnel. Enter through this passage and you'll be in the trial ground. They'll tell you the content of the trial when you get there, Elder Gu said. Jian Wushuang nodded. He took a look at the dark passage in front of him and took a deep breath. Without much hesitation, he stepped into the passage. Whoosh! With a flash of light, Jian Wushuang appeared in a vast world. In the center of this world stood a towering mountain that was hundreds of thousands of feet tall. This mountain gave Jian Wushuang a feeling of vastness and even a sense of fear. Little guy, the mountain you see now is called D Mountain. Master once moved to this secret realm by great means. Elder Gus's voice came from the void, and a faint figure appeared there. D Mountain? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and looked at the huge mountain in front of him. He had noticed that D Mountain was very different from an ordinary mountain at first glance. Chapter 30-36. D Mountain is very special. Elder Gus's leisurely voice came from the void next to him. This D Mountain is completely covered by a special restriction. Cultivators, no matter who steps on the D Mountain, will immediately be restricted by the restriction. The power they can use is at most at the level of an ordinary first-level true saint. Even if your realm has already surpassed that of a first-level true saint, or if you have secret techniques that can increase the power of your divine power or special techniques, Once you reach the D Mountain, these secret techniques will not be able to be used. On D Mountain, the only things you can use are the principles and Tao, as well as the various unique skills you created. D Mountain is divided into 3 levels, namely the foot of the mountain, the mountainside, and the mountaintop. Each level has 3 gatekeepers. What you need to do is to start from the foot of the mountain, then climb to the mountaintop and reach the top. That's enough. After hearing Elder Gus' words, Jian Wushuang moved. There are gatekeepers at the foot of the mountain, the mountainside, and the top of the mountain. Does this mean that I will experience 3 trials in total? And it seems that these 3 trials will become more difficult as time goes on, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Let's begin. After Elder Gu finished speaking, the rest was left to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and appeared at the foot of the mountain. As soon as he arrived, he saw 3 figures standing quietly at the foot of the mountain. They were a black-clothed woman, a cold-looking elder, and a middle-aged man with red hair. Their expressions were cold and emotionless. Is this my opponent at the foot of the mountain? Jian Wushuang's eyes focused. Challenger, defeat us and you can go to the mountainside, the red-haired middle-aged man said coldly. As soon as he said this, the red-haired middle-aged man immediately moved. He rushed toward Jian Wushuang like a ball of hot flame. The red-haired middle-aged man wore a pair of red fists and his body was full of murderous aura. This murderous aura immediately swept toward Jian Wushuang. At the same time, the black-clothed woman and the cold-faced elder also made corresponding movements. The black-clothed woman directly merged into the surrounding void and completely disappeared. As for the cold-faced elder, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Buzz buzz buzz. The world in front of Jian Wushuang completely changed. He was originally taking the test at the foot of D Mountain, but in the blink of an eye, he found himself in a dark void. No, it was not a dark void. To be more precise, it was a dark prison. The dark prison had completely imprisoned him. There were even huge chains that completely bound him, making him unable to move. There were people around him who held knives and swords and wanted to cut his flesh. Illusion. Jian Wushuang's face was cold. Break. His body only shook for a moment, and a terrifying willpower burst out. The surrounding dark space immediately collapsed. You actually broke my illusion in an instant? The cold elder looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise, and then snorted coldly. He pointed his right hand from afar, and 6 sharp dark spikes turned into 6 pitch-black beams of light, piercing through the void and shooting toward Jian Wushuang's head. Each of the 6 dark spikes contained a strong impact power. Before the 6 dark spikes appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, the red-haired middle-aged man's fist had already arrived. His fist was hot and violent, like a raging flame, directly covering Jian Wushuang. Humph! Jian Wushuang snorted and suddenly brandished his Blood Mountain sword. His divine power exploded the moment he brandished it, but at the same time, his face darkened. As expected, no matter how much I use my divine power, the power I can release is only at the level of a rank 1 true saint. I can't use any means to amplify the power. Even the boundless sword tree, which is 6,600 meters tall, can't amplify the power of my swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang frowned. However, he could not use all his strength. The 3 people guarding at the foot of the mountain could only activate the power of a rank 1 true saint. Under the same power, Jian Wushuang was not afraid of them at all. Die. Jian Wushuang suddenly let out a low shout, and a terrible evil aura suddenly burst out. Spacetime sword art, evil Xiang. It was the most terrifying move that Jian Wushuang had created. A deep, angry roar suddenly came from the heaven and earth. The shocking sword light that Jian Wushuang waved turned into a complete and huge ancient exotic beast in the blink of an eye, and fiercely smashed into the red-haired middle-aged man's fist. Crack. The sound of bones cracking was heard. The red-haired middle-aged man let out a shrill scream, and his body was sent flying heavily. Suddenly, a cold black light appeared behind Jian Wushuang without any warning. The black light was cold, dazzling and full of killing intent. However, Jian Wushuang only slightly moved his body, and silver light burst out. Swish! The dark dagger cut through the void, but it did not have the time to cut through the corner of Jian Wushuang's clothes. Jian Wushuang had already appeared beside the black-clothed woman. A sword light was extremely fast and directly slashed at the black-clothed woman. It was much faster and more violent than when the black-clothed woman stabbed out with the dagger. Whoosh! The sword light directly passed through the divine body of the black-clothed woman. Then Jian Wushuang's body burst forth again. He easily dodged the 6 dark spikes and chopped off the cold elder's head. In just a moment, 2 of the 3 people who surrounded Jian Wushuang were killed and 1 was injured. Jian Wushuang naturally passed the test at the foot of the mountain. After passing the test, Jian Wushuang immediately went to the mountainside. As for the black-clothed woman and the cold-faced elder, their divine bodies had recovered. In the void not far from D Mountain, the elder of the secret realm, Spirit Valley, had been standing there quietly watching. He had witnessed everything that had happened at the foot of the mountain. When he saw that Jian Wushuang had easily defeated the three people at the foot of the mountain, he could not help nodding slightly. His comprehension of the space-time principle is not bad. He has reached the limit of the second stage, which is considered good among rank 3 true saints. The swordsmanship he created is at the peak of rank 3. This kind of comprehension, it should not be difficult to pass the tests at the foot of the mountain or at the mountainside. What is difficult is the mountaintop. Elder Gu knew very well that the 3 tests of D Mountain were more and more difficult. Especially the trial on the mountaintop, which was the most difficult of the 3 trials. In the primordial divine world, ordinary geniuses could not pass the trial on the mountaintop. Only the top super geniuses could. As for Jian Wushuang, Elder Gu did not think that Jian Wushuang could pass the trial on the mountaintop. Chapter 30-37, The Mountaintop D Mountain on the Mountainside. There were also 3 gatekeepers on the mountainside just like at the foot of the mountain. One of them was good at close combat and their attacks were tyrannical. The other was good at speed and good at sneak attacks and assassinations. The last person knew how to use soul attacks, and his soul techniques were incomparably powerful. The difference was that the 3 gatekeepers on the mountainside were much more powerful than the 3 at the foot of the mountain. Get lost. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. He slashed out his blood mountain sword and performed the evil Xiang move. The terrifying sword light collided with the sledgehammer wielded by a strong young man. Although he had the upper hand, the strong young man was not defeated by him. He was not completely crushed. Next to him, an evil-looking young man slashed at Jian Wushuang's head again and again. The last gatekeeper, who was not far away, used his soul attack to affect Jian Wushuang. The 3 of them worked well together, which put a lot of pressure on Jian Wushuang. However, at this moment, Jian Wushuang finally burst out. His silver light movement suddenly burst out, and his speed completely surpassed the fastest of the 3. He directly appeared in front of the gatekeeper who had used soul attack. Then he used Star Dream, which was so fast, the gatekeeper did not have time to react and was killed on the spot. After one of the 3 was killed, the other 2 obviously could not defeat Jian Wushuang, so they were soon defeated by Jian Wushuang one by one. They passed the mountainside. Finally, Jian Wushuang arrived at the top of D Mountain. There were also 3 gatekeepers on the mountaintop. They were a stocky elder and 2 women, one black and one white. Master left D Mountain behind and set 3 tests. You passed the 2 tests at the foot and the mountainside. This proves that your talent is not weak. Even in the vast divine beginning world, you can be considered a first-class genius. But that's it, the stocky elder said. You'll never pass the test of the 3 of us, the white-robed woman also said. How would I know if I don't try? Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly. Soon he fought with the 3 gatekeepers. After the real battle, Jian Wushuang understood why Elder Gu had said that the probability of him passing the test was very low. It was because the test on the mountaintop was too difficult. Although the 3 gatekeepers on the mountaintop had also displayed the power of a rank 1 true saint, each of them had reached the peak of a rank 3 true saint in terms of their comprehension of the rules and Tao. Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the spacetime principles and sword principle was only at the peak of a rank 3 true saint. Any one of the 3 could fight him head-on, and it was hard to predict who would win. But now it was a 3-on-1 fight. The 3 of them were working well together. Under such circumstances, how could he be a match for them? Jian Wushuang held on for a while, but he was defeated in the end. As soon as he was defeated, Jian Wushuang was immediately sent out of D Mountain. I failed. Jian Wushuang returned to the hall with a sigh. Little guy, how do you feel? Elder Gu looked at him with interest. Too weak. Any one of the 3 gatekeepers on the top of the mountain is equal to me. If the 3 of them work together, I'm no match for them, Jian Wushuang said. I've already said that it's very unlikely for you to pass the test left by Master. It's true, but don't take it too seriously. I can see that you've just reached the immortal saint level, and your strength is still in an explosive stage. You still have a lot of room to improve your strength at the level of a rank 1 true saint. Judging from your fight with the 3 gatekeepers on the top of D Mountain, you are not too far away from passing the test. As long as you can make great progress in the future, you should be able to pass it. Elder Gu smiled and said, Indeed. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. It was true that he could not pass D Mountain's test, but he was not too far away from passing the test. He was close to passing it. With such a small gap, as long as he made some progress in his strength, he should be able to pass it. Now, under the situation where I can't fully utilize my strength, I can't deal with the joint attack of the three gatekeepers. If I want to defeat the three of them, I can only make a big breakthrough in the rules or sword principle. Among the rules and sword principle, his comprehension of reincarnation principles was even lower than the spacetime principles. Even if he improved to the same level as the spacetime principles, the increase in his battle strength was minimal. He was afraid that he would still be unable to pass the test on the top of the mountain. As for the sword principle, although his immeasurable sword tree was already 6,600 feet tall, his understanding of the sword principle was not very high. However, it was very difficult to improve the sword principle. In a short time, Jian Wushuang could not make great progress in his sword principle. The only thing he could improve now was the spacetime principle. Spacetime principle, right? Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. Then he flipped his hand and took out a golden stone the size of an infant's fist. Looking at the golden stone, Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with a strange light. This golden stone was the strange stone that contained the spacetime divine principle. Jian Wushuang had stepped into the spacetime temple from this golden stone and learned the heaven-designated skill. However, the heaven-designated skill was only one of the first moves of the spacetime divine principle. Jian Wushuang knew that there were two moves of the spacetime divine principle contained in this golden stone alone. However, because his comprehension of the spacetime principles was too low, he was not qualified to learn the second move. Now, his comprehension of the spacetime rules had greatly improved. Reaching the limit of the second stage, he could try to learn the second move of the spacetime divine skill. Most importantly, when Jian Wushuang was comprehending the first move of the spacetime divine skill, the heaven-designated skill, his comprehension of the spacetime principle had also greatly improved. Now, his comprehension of the spacetime principle had reached the limit of the second stage. He could use the second move of the spacetime divine skill to improve his comprehension of the spacetime principles so that his comprehension of the spacetime principles could reach the third stage. Once his comprehension of the spacetime principles reached the third stage, he would have the confidence to pass the test on the top of D Mountain. Thinking of this, the light in his eyes grew brighter. Chapter 30-38, One Finger Oblivion. Elder Gu, I want a place where I can cultivate and comprehend in peace, Jian Wushuang said. Sure, this secret realm is very big and there is no other cultivator besides you. I can arrange a place for you to ensure that no one will disturb you, Elder Gu said, but I have to remind you that any cultivator only has 3 chances to enter D Mountain. You've already used it once before and there are only 2 chances left. You must seize these 2 chances. You must be at least 70 to 80% sure that you can go again. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. Soon, Elder Gu arranged a separate dark void for Jian Wushuang. The dark void was boundless. Jian Wushuang sat alone with his legs crossed. In front of him was a golden stone the size of a baby's fist. Let's begin. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang sank his consciousness into the golden stone. Buzz buzz buzz. The scene immediately began to change. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Waves of terrifying spacetime storms filled every corner of the world. The killing power contained in these spacetime storms was ridiculously strong. Jian Wushuang even suspected that even a principal's master would be torn into pieces by this spacetime storm, let alone a true saint. He reckoned that he would be torn into pieces by this spacetime storm. In many places in the spacetime storm, spacetime seemed to have completely frozen and stopped. Pieces of space continued to break and regenerate. In the center of this spacetime storm, there was an extremely tall golden palace door. This palace door was magnificent and majestic, but the inside of the palace door was mysterious. What he could sense was still the vast and boundless power of spacetime. It was as if it led to another spacetime. Jian Wushuang was standing under the golden palace gate. Here I am again. Seeing the spacetime palace gate in front of him, Jian Wushuang's heart was still filled with many waves. The words that he had heard before were still echoing in his ears. Cross the spacetime gate, enter my spacetime palace, and be a member of my divine palace. Jian Wushuang had stepped through the time-space palace gate before he was able to comprehend the first move of the time-space divine skill, the heaven-designated skill. But now, taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang stepped into the palace gate again without any hesitation. As soon as he entered the palace gate, he came to a vast and boundless void. In the void, a tall figure stood there. The tall figure was 3 meters tall and wore a simple but clean white robe. His figure was obscure and his face could not be seen. He stood in the middle of the void with his hands behind his back. It's him again. Jian Wushuang, you are not unfamiliar with this tall figure. When he was comprehending the heaven-designated skill, he saw the tall figure personally use the heaven-designated skill to imprison many experts, causing them to be stuck in time and space for a long time and unable to recover. If Jian Wushuang was right, the tall figure was probably the creator of the time and space divine skill, the Temporal Temple Master. Now Jian Wushuang saw the tall figure again standing in front of a star. It was a huge star that was much larger than the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. Such a star was simply a colossus. Jian Wushuang also sensed the aura of countless cultivators in the star. They were all very powerful, including many immortal saints. Jian Wushuang even faintly sensed the aura of the Principal's Master. What is he going to do? As a bystander, Jian Wushuang stared at the tall figure quietly. Finally, the tall figure moved. He still did not move much. He just slowly extended his right hand and pointed in the direction of the giant star. Yes, it was the simplest finger. It was exactly the same as when he used the heaven-designated skill. However, under this finger, an obscure power of space-time rules suddenly swept out. In front of them, on the giant star, a terrifying space-time storm appeared out of thin air. The space-time storm completely covered the entire star, and a large number of space-time blades crazily rampaged and strangled everything. Then, the giant star, including the countless cultivators on the star, began to be annihilated at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was annihilated. Completely annihilated. Whether it was the giant star, the cultivators in the star, or the few hidden principles masters that Jian Wushuang sensed, there was no room for struggle. In the blink of an eye they were all annihilated. The giant star completely disappeared, and the world returned to peace as if nothing had happened. Jian Wushuang was completely stunned. After a while, a vast amount of information flooded into his mind. The second move of the space-time divine art, one-finger void annihilation. One-finger void annihilation. Space-time annihilation. Jian Wushuang was still standing in the void, but his body was faintly trembling. It was too terrifying. The scene just now was too terrifying. It should be known that the giant star was much larger than a Magic Note Divine Kingdom. Such a huge star, the tall figure only needed one finger to completely annihilate it. Such a terrifying method was simply unbelievable. Space-time annihilation. Yes, the tall figure just used the space-time annihilation which can be used in the third stage of the space-time principles. Jian Wushuang was still recalling the scene just now. The space-time storm appeared and annihilated everything in the world, and the method was obviously space-time annihilation. According to Jian Wushuang's understanding of the space-time principles, each level of the space-time principles had a new ability. The first level of the space-time principles could condense a space-time illusion body. The second level could control the space-time blade. The third level allowed one to perform the space-time annihilation. The fourth level allowed one to perform teleportation. Jian Wushuang had not yet reached the third level of the space-time annihilation, but he had clearly used the space-time annihilation with his finger earlier. He had used the space-time annihilation in a special way to its fullest and most perfect effect. This move was terrifying in terms of its destructive power alone. It's just right that my space-time principles has advanced one step further, which is to control the space-time annihilation move, and the one-finger void annihilation move is to perfectly utilize the space-time annihilation move. I can completely comprehend this move while controlling the space-time annihilation, and I can easily step into the third level of the space-time principles. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. Chapter 30-39. The third stage of the space-time principles in the dark void. Jian Wushuang was very excited. With the gold-splitting secret manual in hand, I have already dissected the first three stages of the space-time principles in great detail. It's still very helpful to me. With the 3 heaven-sealing scrolls in hand, I can improve my comprehension speed by many times. Now I can comprehend the space-time annihilation from the space-time annihilation skill of one finger. With so many cultivation resources, it won't take an ordinary person long to make a breakthrough. As for me, let's see how long it will take. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with anticipation, then he began to meditate carefully. Time began to pass slowly. 1 day, 1 month, 1 year. After only 1 year, Jian Wushuang's eyes were still open in the dark void. He stared at the void in front of him. With a move of his consciousness, the power of the space-time rule suddenly burst out. Whoosh! A large amount of the power of the space-time principles condensed in the void, and in the blink of an eye, it had formed countless space-time blades. Each of these space-time blades was extremely powerful and contained an astonishing killing power. However, under Jian Wushuang's control, the space-time blades immediately began to evolve. Boom! A space-time storm rose. The spacetime storm cut through the void like a blade, and then it began to destroy. In the blink of an eye, all the matter in that small piece of void had been completely destroyed, leaving no trace. The third stage of the spacetime principles, spacetime destruction, is done. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. Just as he had expected, he had the golden splitting secret manual which perfectly dissected the first 3 stages of the spacetime principles, and he also had 3 heaven-sealing scrolls which could speed up his comprehension of the spacetime principle. Finally, there was the spacetime annihilation finger skill which could be used as a reference. With these 3 great opportunities in front of him, it provided him with the fastest way. His comprehension of the spacetime principle had already reached the limit of the second stage and was only 1 step away from the third stage. But now this 1 step was directly crossed in the short span of a year. In the third stage of the spacetime principles, the spacetime annihilation had been controlled, which meant that Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the rule had completely entered a new level. Especially in the use of the spacetime principles, it would be much stronger than before. Let's try it first. Jian Wushuang stood up and looked at the endless dark void in front of him. In the next moment his body suddenly moved. Whoosh! His body instantly burst out, but he had already appeared at the end of the dark void and then returned to his original place. This process had been completed in a flash. My speed is so much faster than before? Jian Wushuang muttered. After his comprehension of the spacetime principle was greatly improved, he could control the power of the spacetime principle more easily. The spacetime around him had less influence on him, so his speed naturally increased. Just now, Jian Wushuang had just made a simple move, but his speed was definitely several times faster than before he broke through. I haven't used my movement skill just now. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and then his body moved again. This time he directly used the silver light movement skill. Swish, 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 swish. One after another, silver phantoms shuttled back and forth in the dark void. Their figures were so ghostly that no one could catch a trace of them. Let alone an ordinary person, even a genuine rank 3 true saint would not be able to catch a trace of Jian Wushuang here. He was afraid that he would not be able to catch a glimpse of Jian Wushuang's actual figure. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang's figure once again returned to the distance. When I use the silver light movement technique, my speed should be about 6 times faster than before, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Only 6 times? Jian Wushuang frowned. With a simple sweep, he found that his speed had not only increased by 6 times, but should have increased by 7 times or even 8 times. But now, when he used the movement technique, his speed had only increased by 6 times. This meant, my movement technique is not perfect enough. There is still a lot of room for improvement, Jian Wushuang said. Movement technique was different from an absolute art. An absolute art was created by combining the rule and sword principle. But movement technique relied purely on the rule. When Jian Wushuang created the silver light movement technique, his comprehension of the spacetime principle was only at the limit of the second stage. But now, his comprehension of the spacetime principles had reached the third stage and reached a new level. At this time he was looking at the silver light movement technique, which had many shortcomings and could be improved. No rush, let's test the power of the sword skill first. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and then took out his blood mountain sword. In the dark void, Jian Wushuang began to display his sword skill. First, he simply used the power of spacetime principles to display his swordsmanship, feeling the changes in the speed and power of his swordsmanship. Then he displayed the 2 ultimate skills, Evil Xiang and Star Dream one by one. The result was obvious. As he improved the spacetime principles, his swordsmanship improved greatly in both speed and power. For example, in terms of power, his Evil Xiang should be 3 times more powerful than before. Do not underestimate the power of 3 times because it was just an absolute art. If Jian Wushuang used all his divine power and all kinds of techniques at the same time, his overall strength would be greatly improved. As for Star Dream, it did not focus on power so it would not be much stronger. However, its speed was greatly increased, becoming faster and faster. At the same time, the tearing and cutting ability of the sword edge had also increased by a large margin. In general, Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had also improved to a new level. In addition, after he had reached the third stage of comprehending the spacetime principles and had mastered the spacetime annihilation, he could barely perform the second move of the spacetime divine skill, the one-finger void annihilation skill. I wonder how powerful the one-finger void annihilation skill will be? Jian Wushuang was full of expectation. He took a deep breath, looked at the void in front of him, and then slowly raised his right hand. Just like the tall figure in the golden stone, he slowly raised his right hand and pointed at the void in front of him. Now, if he got the Ice-Fire Swimming Dragon Ruler and used the power of this domain-type Supreme Treasure, he did not need to use too much. Even if he only used 10% of it, it would be enough to greatly increase his battle strength. With the Star Armor domain it would be even better. The effect would be even better. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and took the Ice-Fire Swimming Dragon Ruler. Xue Bei did not stop him. Chapter 30-40. Another challenge at D Mountain. Walalat. The spacetime storm destroyed everything. Although the spacetime storm was not as big as the giant figure in the Golden Stone picture, it still existed in a vast void, and all the materials in that void were destroyed, all the matter in that void had been annihilated. So powerful. Looking at the completely annihilated void in front of him, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. He could feel that the power of his finger space annihilating skill should be more than 100 times stronger than the spacetime annihilation he controlled. In other words, he could control the spacetime annihilation only after he had comprehended the spacetime rules to the third stage, but after the special application of the spacetime divine skill, it was 100 times more powerful. It was too terrifying. I can feel that even if I use my divine power to perform this move, I can easily crush a rank 3 true saint and completely annihilate him. Even his immortal body is useless. Jian Wushuang was shocked. The annihilation of time and space was to completely annihilate an area of time and space. All matter was completely annihilated, including divine power. For an expert of the true saint realm, even if his divine body was destroyed, his divine power could still be regenerated when scattered around. However, this finger annihilation of space could completely annihilate the divine power of this area of time and space. Naturally, it could destroy this true saint directly. This is only the strength of my divine power. If I use many secret skills, the power of my divine power will soar again. Even a rank 4 true saint would not be able to resist this move, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. The void annihilation technique was too powerful. Jian Wushuang was also shocked. He had only grasped the first step of this technique, and his comprehension of the spacetime principles had just reached the third stage. In the future, his comprehension of the spacetime principles could continue to improve. He would become more and more familiar with this technique, and when he used it, it would be more powerful. Spacetime divine skill, one finger heaven designated skill, and now one finger void annihilation technique. I wonder what kind of supreme existence the spacetime temple master who created this divine skill is. Jian Wushuang secretly praised. With the space annihilating finger skill, he had another trump card in his hand or even a killer move. Phew. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang gradually calmed down. Now, my comprehension of the spacetime principles has improved so much that it has greatly improved my speed in swordsmanship. As for the space annihilating finger skill, although it is not useful when I go to D Mountain, even without the space annihilating finger skill, I should have an 80% chance of passing through D Mountain now. If I slightly improve the silver light movement skill that I created so that it can perfectly combine with my speed, then I have a 90% chance of passing through it. Jian Wushuang was quite excited. Immediately, in this dark space, Jian Wushuang began to comprehend and improve his movement skill again. In the dark space, streaks of silver light constantly flickered. This was Jian Wushuang constantly trying to perform his movement skill. While performing it, he constantly discovered his shortcomings and then improved them. With his talent and comprehension of the spacetime principles, it was very easy for him to improve his movement technique. It only took him 10 days. After 10 days, Jian Wushuang's silver light movement technique had been improved. Of course, this improvement was only from Jian Wushuang's current point of view. But if his comprehension of the spacetime principles improved to a new level in the future, his view of his movement technique would be different. My movement skills have improved. I'm 90% sure that I can pass the D Mountain. I can go now. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and immediately shouted, "Elder Gu." A moment later, Jian Wushuang arrived in front of Elder Gu. "Elder Gu, I want to challenge the D Mountain again," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Challenge again? It's only been a year?" Elder Gu frowned slightly. He had warned Jian Wushuang that anyone who tried to challenge D Mountain would only have 3 chances. Jian Wushuang had already used it once, so there were only 2 chances left. For this reason, Elder Gu had specifically reminded Jian Wushuang to be as cautious as possible in the next 2 chances and to try again when he was sure. But now, it had only been a year since he first tried to challenge D Mountain. He came here after a year? Could it be that he had made great progress in this 1 year? "Little guy, how confident are you?" Elder Gu tried to ask. 70 to 80%, Jian Wushuang said. He was being humble. Although he was 90% confident, he only said 70 to 80%. 70 to 80% I can try. A smile appeared on Elder Gus's face again. Then he waved his hand, and the tunnel leading to D Mountain appeared in front of Jian Wushuang again. Go in, Elder Gu said. Jian Wushuang also stepped into the tunnel. D Mountain was tall and majestic, which was extremely shocking. Although Jian Wushuang had reached the top of the mountain last time, he still had to start from the foot of the mountain this time. The three gatekeepers at the foot of the mountain could not hinder Jian Wushuang at all. In just a moment, Jian Wushuang had reached the top of D Mountain again. On the top of the mountain, the burly elder and the two women, one black and one white, were still standing there looking at Jian Wushuang calmly. You're here again, the black-clothed woman said. It's only been a year since you came here last time. Although Master gave you 3 chances, you didn't take this test seriously. How much progress can you make in just a year? How can you overcome the obstacles of the 3 people? Well, know if we can. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Oh, you're very confident? Then the 3 of us will crush your confidence now. The stocky elder said in a deep voice, do it. Whoosh. The stocky elder and the black-clothed woman moved at the same time. As for the white-robed woman, a warm white light emerged from her body and shone toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's consciousness was also affected by the warm white light, but he quickly came back to his senses. As soon as he regained consciousness, he saw the black-robed woman appear behind him. At the same time, a cold blood-red saber light cut toward Jian Wushuang's head from behind. The angle was tricky and the speed was also very fast. If Jian Wushuang had not broken through the comprehension of the space-time principle before, he would have been a little embarrassed in the face of this saber light. But now. Chapter 3041. Past_swish. Jian Wushuang's figure had disappeared into thin air. In its place was a strange silver stream of light, followed by a sword light. It was incredibly fast. When the sword light lit up, the black-clothed woman's eyes shrank, and a trace of horror flashed across her face. The sword was so fast that the black-clothed woman did not react at all. The sword light flashed and the black-clothed woman's head flew away. In just one move, the black-clothed woman among the 3 gatekeepers had been killed. Humph! With an angry snort, the stocky elder had already arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. He held a big hammer in each of his hands and his body was covered with a large number of black thunderbolts. It was as if the thunder god had come to the world, and he suddenly attacked Jian Wushuang. Good timing. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and threw out his sword with his right hand. At the moment he threw out his sword, a shocking sword essence suddenly burst out. Spacetime sword art Xiang. Bang. A low collision sound was heard. The stocky elder's body suddenly trembled and he immediately retreated in a sorry state. Before Jian Wushuang's comprehension of spacetime principles had reached a breakthrough, he had used all of his strength to use Xiang to clash with the stocky elder. He had barely gained the upper hand. But now, his comprehension of spacetime principles had reached the 3rd stage. The power of Jian Wushuang's Xiang move had increased by 3 times. When the two fought again, it was naturally a crushing blow. Die. Jian Wushuang's body flashed and he attacked the last white-robed woman. The white-robed woman used her soul attack and controlled the strange spears to flash toward Jian Wushuang one after another. However, Jian Wushuang easily dodged them. Then the sword light flashed past the white-robed woman and she was killed. In just a moment, 2 of the 3 gatekeepers were killed, and the burly elder was completely crushed. The result was naturally out. Boy, congratulations on reaching the top of D Mountain. The burly elder stood aside and watched Jian Wushuang. The divine bodies of the black-robed woman and the white-robed woman, who had been killed by Jian Wushuang, were restored. They looked at Jian Wushuang with a strange look in their eyes. Thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. At this moment, a figure condensed on the top of D Mountain. It was Elder Gu who had been watching the battle from the side. Congratulations, little guy. Elder Gu looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of joy on his face as he said, It has been a long time since Master left this secret realm. Now, someone can finally pass the test left by Master. Little guy, come with me. Elder Gu waved his hand, and a space passage appeared in the void around D Mountain. Elder Gu led Jian Wushuang directly into the space passage. They were still in the secret realm, but it was still the core and the most important area of the secret realm. They were still in a palace, but the palace was 30,000 feet tall and vast. As soon as Jian Wushuang stepped into the palace, he looked through the void and saw a figure sitting on a lofty throne at the end of the palace. It was a slender, 3-meter-tall, handsome young man. The young man's skin was fair, tender, and even better than many beautiful women. He wore a snow-white velvet coat with golden edges, and his long brown hair fell to his shoulders. He looked lazy, but he had a pair of deep eyes that seemed to contain billions of stars. Above those deep eyes were two sword-shaped eyebrows. These two sword-shaped eyebrows were like two peerless divine swords in a scabbard. As long as they were slightly bunched up, a terrifying sword essence would burst out. The young man sat on the throne lazily. There was no aura emanating from his body, making him look extremely ordinary. However, even though the young man was sitting at the end of the palace, he was still far away from Jian Wushuang. The young man did not even raise his head to look at him. He just sat there. It still made Jian Wushuang feel a trace of respect. Yes, it was respect. It was an instinctive respect for experts. "Little guy, come with me to see Master," Elder Gu said. "Master? Is that the Master of the Secret Realm?" Jian Wushuang was quite excited. He followed Elder Gu and slowly walked toward the palace. After a while, they finally arrived at the center of the palace and in front of the towering throne. As they walked here, the reverence in Jian Wushuang's heart grew stronger and stronger. "Master," Elder Gu said. His voice was gentle, but it was absolutely respectful. On the towering throne, the 3-meter-tall handsome man moved slightly. Then he slowly raised his eyelids. His pitch-black, emotionless eyes looked directly at Elder Gu and Jian Wushuang. The moment Jian Wushuang sensed the handsome man's eyes, his heart turned cold, as if he had completely fallen into an ice cellar. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang had lived for 2 lifetimes and had experienced many storms. In his last life, he had even seen countless top experts. Although those experts were restricted by Heaven and Earth and could not unleash their true strength and power, however, Jian Wushuang had seen some incredible methods. Therefore, although Jian Wushuang was full of awe in front of this handsome man, he did not lose his composure too much. "Heavenly Sword Marquis, greetings, Senior," Jian Wushuang said respectfully. He could see that the handsome man in front of him had died a long time ago, leaving behind only a consciousness incarnation. "Heavenly Sword Marquis?" An ancient and deep voice slowly came out of the handsome man's mouth. "Did you pass the D-Mountain test that I left behind?" "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. "Master, this little guy is extremely talented and has an extraordinary background," Elder Gu said. "I know." The handsome man nodded. He had created the secret realm himself. Although Elder Gu was in charge of many things in the secret realm, as the master of the secret realm, he knew all the things that had happened in the secret realm. For example, when Jian Wushuang had tried to get the corpse puppet army, the handsome man had seen that his soul had been killed 6 or 7 times in order to survive the test. Once his soul is destroyed, he will definitely die. This is a common thing of the heavenly axiom, but this little guy completely goes against the common knowledge of the heavenly axiom. He is a special anomaly in the heaven and earth, and the heavenly axiom does not allow him to exist. The handsome man glanced at Jian Wushuang with a strange look in his eyes. "In any case, since you have passed the D-Mountain test that I left behind, what I left in the secret realm will naturally belong to you." The handsome man's voice rang out slowly. Chapter 3042, Xue Bei In any case, since you have passed the D-Mountain test I left behind, what I left behind in this secret realm will naturally belong to you. Hearing the handsome man's words, Jian Wushuang was also delighted. This handsome man was a genuine principles master, and he was also a principles master who had opened a secret realm. As far as Jian Wushuang knew, principles masters were superior, but there were differences in strength. Most principles masters who were weaker could not open a secret realm of heaven and earth. Those who could open a secret realm of heaven and earth were definitely the best among principles masters. Moreover, on the way to the depths of the secret realm, he saw a lot of sarcophagi. In addition to many top-notch and invincible immortal saints, there were 2 principles master sarcophagi. The handsome man had also killed the 2 principles masters. To be able to kill principles masters and 2 principles masters at that, one could imagine the strength of the handsome man. Jian Wushuang was naturally eager to get the things left in the secret realm by such a super existence. "Before you get what I left, you must remember my name. My name is Xue Bei and I come from the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor." The handsome man's voice sounded again. "Divine Ancestor Taoist sect? The bloodline of the Blood Ancestor?" Jian Wushuang was stunned. He had never heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect or the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor. He had only heard of the Blood Clan, which was one of the 4 great divine clans of the divine beginning world. However, the Blood Clan and the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor were clearly 2 different things. Seeing the confusion on Jian Wushuang's face, Xue Bei asked, "Heavenly Sword Marquis, you haven't left the Endless Territory, have you?" "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. He had been born in the Endless Territory. Although he was full of longing and yearning for the vast third heaven, he had never been there before because he was not strong enough. That's right. Born in the endless territory, you haven't really explored the third heaven, so your horizons are limited. It's normal that you haven't heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. Xue Bei said, although you haven't heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, you can still come into contact with the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance with your strength. I know about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. I'm now a heaven-level member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Jian Wushuang said. Heaven level? Xue Bei glanced at Jian Wushuang and nodded slightly. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is recognized as the most powerful freedom alliance in the Divine Beginning world. However, there are many powerful freedom alliances in the Divine Beginning world. There are 3 of them, and the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is only one of them. 3 freedom alliances? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is only one of the 3 freedom alliances? Then the other 2 freedom alliances are... The remaining 2 freedom alliances are the Spacetime Temple and the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, Xue Bei said. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He knew about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and the 3 freedom alliances. He also knew about the Spacetime Temple, and it must be related. After all, the 2 Spacetime divine skills he had obtained from the Golden Stone came from the Spacetime Temple. According to the information in the Golden Stone, he had already entered the Spacetime Gate, so he was a member of the Spacetime Temple. The Spacetime Temple is one of the 3 strongest freedom alliances in the Divine Beginning world? Jian Wushuang was a little shocked. He had guessed that the Spacetime Temple must be extremely powerful and that the Temple Master who created it must be unfathomable. Now it seemed that it was true. One of the 3 freedom alliances in the Divine Beginning world was on par with the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Although the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was ranked first and recognized as the strongest, the fact that the Spacetime Temple was on par with it was enough to show how terrifying the Spacetime Temple was. This was the case for the Temporal Temple as well as for the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. Of the 3 great freedom alliances, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is the strongest and has the largest number of branches. It is not an exaggeration to say that it has spread to every corner of the Divine Beginning world. However, the Temporal Temple is different from the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. The Temporal Temple is the most mysterious and its methods are also very impressive. Most of the powerful warriors within the temple have comprehended the principles of time and space. And these powerful warriors who are proficient in the principles of time and space have used their most powerful methods to create a special patch of time and space, making it difficult for others to find them. Especially the mysterious temple master of the Spacetime Temple. His comprehension of the principles of spacetime is widely recognized as the #1 person in the Divine Beginning world. His ability to use spacetime is unparalleled, and he is definitely one of the best among the countless cultivators in the entire Divine Beginning world. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked, but he was not surprised. The temple master of the Spacetime Temple had created the Spacetime Divine skill himself. Jian Wushuang had already experienced how powerful the Spacetime Divine skill was. Finally, it's the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. The Divine Ancestor Taoist sect is not as extensive. Most of its power is concentrated in the third heaven. Although the Divine Ancestor is the leader of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, it has many factions under its command. My Blood Ancestor faction is one of them, Xue Bei said. Senior, with your strength, you should be at the top of the Blood Ancestor faction, right? Jian Wushuang could not help asking. Xue Bei was a powerful principles master who could open a secret realm of heaven and earth. Such a rule master was a peak expert in the entire Divine Beginning world. Among the factions under the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, he should be ranked among the top. You can say that. Xue Bei nodded slightly. I belong to the Blood Ancestors lineage. There are more than 10 masters of principles, but there are only 2 who can match my strength. Back then, I was a great general in the Blood Ancestors lineage. As Xue Bei spoke, his gaze became misty. It was as if he had recalled everything he had experienced over the long years. I once fought my way into a sect alone, killed 4 rule masters and left unhurriedly. I was lucky enough to accept the invitation to participate in the Heaven Lake banquet where the top experts gathered. I once participated in the world-ending war with the experts of the Blood Ancestors bloodline. I was even lucky enough to go to the universe battlefield with the Blood Ancestor. Xue Bai's voice was rather ethereal. Hearing his words, Jian Wushuang's expression was very strange. The Heaven Lake feast? The world-ending war from countless years ago? The universe battlefield? Jian Wushuang murmured. He was very unfamiliar with these things. However, he also knew that he was only an immortal saint and had stayed in the endless territories. He had not been to the third heaven, the core of the divine beginning world. It was normal that he did not know many things. However, Xue Bai's words still made Jian Wushuang's blood boil and his heart filled with yearning. After a long time, Xue Bei seemed to calm down. Forget it, it's all in the past. His voice also became low. Chapter 30-43, 4 Opportunities, First Half. Xue Bai's expression was obviously a bit desolate. Right, no matter how brilliant and arrogant he used to be, he still died in the end. What was left now was only a trace of consciousness. Heavenly Sword Marquis, if you can pass the test I set, then the opportunities in this secret realm will be handed to you. I left 4 opportunities in this secret realm, Xue Bei said. 4. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up and his heart was full of expectation. First is the first opportunity. Xue Bei waved his hand and took out an interspatial ring. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at the interspatial ring in confusion. This is all the resources and treasures that I have collected in my life. They are all in this interspatial ring, Xue Bei said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes couldn't help reddening. The treasures and resources that Xue Bei had collected in his life? Wasn't this all of Xue Bai's wealth? This was an extremely powerful principles master. All of his wealth? How many resources and treasures did he have? Jian Wushuang could not imagine. Don't be happy too early. This interspatial ring is not meant for you. Just as Jian Wushuang was excited, Xue Bei poured cold water on him. Jian Wushuang could not help but be stunned. Xue Bei had just said that he would give him an opportunity, and then he took out this interspatial ring. In the end, it was not for him? It's true that this interspatial ring is what I've collected all my life, but I intend to leave these things to the blood ancestor lineage. After all, there is competition among all the factions in the divine ancestor Taoist sect. This competition is very fierce, and the blood ancestor lineage also desperately needs the resources that I've left behind. The reason why I'm taking it out now is that I hope you can give it to the blood ancestor lineage in the future. Of course, I've already set a special restriction on the interspatial ring. Only the unique means of the blood ancestor bloodline can unlock it. Otherwise, even a principles master cannot open it, Xue Bei said. Jian Wushuang's expression became even more strange. Xue Bei glanced at Jian Wushuang. He said, Heavenly Sword Marquis, although you didn't take me as your master, you passed my test and can inherit my legacy. You can barely be considered half a disciple of me, so you can be considered a member of the blood ancestors' bloodline. It's not too much for me to ask you to give this interspatial ring to the blood ancestors' bloodline. It's not too much, of course it's not too much. Jian Wushuang just smiled awkwardly. You don't have to be too disappointed. Although I won't give you this interspatial ring that I've collected all my life, I've also chosen 3 special treasures for you. These 3 treasures are my first opportunity for you, Xue Bei said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang looked forward to it again. First is the first treasure. Xue Bei waved his hand, and a 1-meter-long jade ruler appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The jade ruler had a unique shape, and its body was carved with extremely complicated secret patterns. These secret patterns covered the entire body of the jade ruler. Moreover, the jade ruler was surrounded by 2 completely different powers, ice and fire. Seeing the jade ruler in front of him, Jian Wushuang's expression could not help but change. From the first glance at the jade ruler, he could already tell that it was extraordinary. This aura is extraordinary and superior. What level is this treasure? Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He had seen many treasures, and the most amazing one was naturally the mountain river map. However, because the level of the map was too high, Jian Wushuang could not see the specific level of the map. Other than the map, the other treasures Jian Wushuang had seen were probably far inferior to the jade ruler. This is the ice-fire swimming dragon ruler. It's a domain-type supreme treasure that I obtained by chance a long time ago, Xue Bei said. Supreme treasure? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. In the divine beginning world, there were all kinds of treasures, from earth treasures to heavenly treasures to holy treasures. Holy treasures were only used by the immortal saint, but the principles masters, whose strength far surpassed that of the immortal saint, used supreme treasures. The supreme treasure of heaven and earth was extremely powerful. Jian Wushuang finally understood why the jade ruler's aura was so extraordinary and superior. It turned out to be a supreme treasure. And it was a domain-type supreme treasure. Among all kinds of treasures in the world, attack weapons and body protection armors were the most common, while domain-type, suppression-type, and soul-type treasures were very rare. Such a rare treasure was much more valuable than 10 attack weapons of the same level. A domain-type supreme treasure was naturally comparable to more than 10 attack weapons of the same level. If a cultivator wants to go further, he first has to survive in all kinds of dangers or environments. Only by living longer will he be able to walk a longer path in the future. That's why I left you this ice and fire swimming dragon ruler so that you can control your domain. With the help of your domain, as long as you don't encounter too strong an enemy, you can leave whenever you want, stay whenever you want, and seize the opportunity. You'll need this ice fire swimming dragon ruler in the future, Xue Bei said. Yes, of course. Jianghu Shuang was very excited. Of course he needed a domain-type supreme treasure. After all, he was good at domains. Previously, he had relied on the combination of the 9 Bends Blood-like River, Star Armor Domain and Prison of Punishment to suppress cultivators of the same level. However, because of his great increase in strength, this domain technique gradually weakened. There was nothing he could do. The 9 Bends Bloody Light River was only a 3rd-grade holy treasure. It was still very effective against some false saints or ordinary 1st-grade true saints, but at the 2nd and 3rd-grade true saints level, the suppression effect of the 9 Bends Bloody Light River was negligible. As for the Prison of Punishment, it was just one of the methods of the secret skill Divine Punishment. This method was just the most basic method. It formed a golden domain to trap the opponent and at the same time, produce a certain domain suppression effect. However, as Jianghu Shuang had cultivated the Divine Punishment God to 30,000 feet high, this method was rarely used because the effect was just SOSO. The only domain that had a good effect was the Star Armor domain. After the 9 Luminary Star Armor reached the Heavenly Armor chapter, the Star Armor domain it used still had a certain oppressive effect. Chapter 3044, 4 Chances, 2nd part. Next is the 2nd treasure, Xue Bei said again. Jianghu Shuang's eyes were shining, and his heart was full of expectation. The first treasure Xue Bei left for him was a domain-type supreme treasure, so he would not be able to find the 2nd treasure. Under Jianghu Shuang's expectation, Xue Bei suddenly flipped his palm and a golden seal appeared in his hand. This is... Jianghu Shuang looked at the golden seal and felt an extremely powerful aura from it. This is the ruler seal. Before I became a principal's master, I specially hired someone to refine it so that I could better kill the immortal saint. Although this ruler seal is not a supreme treasure, its value is not inferior to a supreme treasure, Xue Bei immediately began to explain. The ruler seal contains a special magic formation. Once it's used, it can seal a large territory as fast as possible. It can control time and space. The person holding the seal knows what's happening in the territory sealed by the magic formation. The magic formation can be big or small. It's all under your control. If you're in a fight and you're worried that your opponent will escape, you can use the ruler seal to seal the territory. Unless your divine power is 2 levels stronger than yours, no one can escape from the magic formation. Jianghu Shuang was shocked. He was shocked because the sight of the ruler's seal reminded him of the dragon imprisoning compass of the magic note Divine Kingdom. The dragon imprisoning compass could also seal a huge territory in a short period of time. At that time, the experts of the demonic sound kingdom had sealed off his territory so that he would not have a chance to escape. Its function was obviously similar to that of the master seal. No, although the dragon imprisoning compass is very powerful, it came from the magic note king. Even if a rank 4 true saint spent a lot of money to refine this treasure, its level would not be much higher. If I'm not wrong, the dragon imprisoning compass must have a great limit, Jianghu Shuang thought. This was indeed the case. Although the power of the dragon imprisoning compass was extraordinary, it had already taken shape. The power of the array within the dragon imprisoning compass had a limit. In the hands of the magic note Divine King, it could unleash its full power. The array could seal space and time, making it difficult for even a rank 4 true saint to escape in a short period of time. However, even if the magic note king's strength broke through to a rank 5 true saint, the power of the ball cage array would still not increase. It could only trap cultivators below rank 4. The ruler seal was completely different. The ruler seal directly controlled space and time, and the power of the magic array was automatically activated by the cultivator. The stronger the divine power of the owner of the ruler seal, the more powerful the magic array would be. To break the magic array, the strength of the magic array must be 2 levels higher than the owner's divine power. For example, if Jianghu Shuang used all his secret skills, his divine power would definitely be at rank 4 true saint level or even one of the best. At this time he could use the ruler seal magic array to seal an area, then this array only the 6th level true saint and above the strong can be broken. Even a rank 5 true saint, a level stronger than Jianghu Shuang's divine power, could not escape from this magic array. The seal of mastery awesome. Jianghu Shuang's eyes sparkled. Before the ice and fire dragon ruler, is the domain class treasure, can let his life-saving ability greatly enhance. Now, the ruler seal could increase his ability to chase after his enemies. With the ruler seal in his hand, Jian Wushuang was not afraid that his enemies would escape. Even if his enemies had an immortal body, as long as they were trapped in the formation of the ruler seal and could not escape, Jian Wushuang could kill them slowly. The last treasure is this. Xue Bei flipped his palm again and took out several purple crystals. These purple crystals were very pure in color and would definitely be dazzling in the sunlight. Senior, what is this? Jian Wushuang asked. It's a universe crystal. I brought it back when I was adventuring in the universe battlefield, Xue Bei said. Universe crystal? What's the use of this? Jian Wushuang asked. Its use is very broad, but it's not useful to you now. After all, if you want to use this universe crystal, you have to be at least a principles master, Xue Bei said. Only the rule master can use it? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Senior, since I don't need it now, why do you leave it to me? It's simple. Although you don't need it, it represents great wealth, Xue Bei said with a smile. Didn't you say that you're a heaven-level member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? I know about the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. You can exchange these universe crystals for sacred elixirs in the treasure pavilion. If nothing unexpected happens, one universe crystal can be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. One universe crystal could be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs? But Xue Bei had taken out 10 universe crystals. 10 universe crystals? Wasn't that 50 billion sacred elixirs? Take it. Although I didn't give you the interspatial ring, you are the inheritor of my legacy, so you can't be too shabby. These 10 universe crystals are for you, so you should spend them sparingly, Xue Bei said. Thank you, senior. Jian Wushuang was very excited. He waved his hand and put all 10 universe crystals into the interspatial ring. After taking them, he was still very excited. The 3 treasures that Xue Bei had prepared for him, Ice and Fire Dragon Ruler Seal, and 10 universe crystals, all of which were extremely valuable and useful to him. But the 3 treasures added together were only the first opportunity that Xue Bei wanted to give him. Xue Bei had just said that there were 4 opportunities left for him in this secret realm. If the first one was like this, then the other 3 opportunities. The second opportunity one want to give you is a secret skill. Xue Bei said again. A secret skill? Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. This secret skill is very special. It's called Emperor's Order, Xue Bei said slowly. The Emperor's Order skill is also a life-saving secret skill. It was obtained by the leader of the Blood Ancestors bloodline, the Blood Ancestor, by chance when he was adventuring in the universe battlefield. After that, he only passed this secret skill to 2 people. One was his personal disciple, and the other was me. Now, I will pass this secret skill to you. With that, Xue Bei slowly raised his palm and pointed his right index finger at Jian Wushuang's glabella. Before the Ice and Fire Dragon Ruler, is the Domain Clash treasure, can let his life-saving ability greatly enhance. Now, the ruler seal could increase his ability to chase after his enemies. With the ruler seal in his hand, Jian Wushuang was not afraid that his enemies would escape. Even if his enemies had an immortal body, as long as they were trapped in the formation of the ruler seal and could not escape, Jian Wushuang could kill them slowly. The last treasure is this. Xue Bei flipped his palm again and took out several purple crystals. These purple crystals were very pure in color and would definitely be dazzling in the sunlight. Senior, what is this? Jian Wushuang asked. It's a universe crystal. I brought it back when I was adventuring in the universe battlefield, Xue Bei said. Universe crystal? What's the use of this? Jian Wushuang asked. Its use is very broad, but it's not useful to you now. After all, if you want to use this universe crystal, you have to be at least a principles master, Xue Bei said. Only the rule master can use it? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Senior, since I don't need it now, why do you leave it to me? It's simple. Although you don't need it, it represents great wealth, Xue Bei said with a smile. Didn't you say that you're a heaven-level member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? I know about the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. You can exchange these universe crystals for sacred elixirs in the treasure pavilion. If nothing unexpected happens, one universe crystal can be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. One universe crystal could be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs? But Xue Bei had taken out 10 universe crystals. 10 universe crystals? Wasn't that 50 billion sacred elixirs? Take it. Although I didn't give you the interspatial ring, you are the inheritor of my legacy, so you can't be too shabby. These 10 universe crystals are for you, so you should spend them sparingly, Xue Bei said. Thank you, senior. Jian Wushuang was very excited. He waved his hand and put all 10 universe crystals into the interspatial ring. After taking them, he was still very excited. The 3 treasures that Xue Bei had prepared for him, Ice and Fire Dragon Ruler Seal, and 10 universe crystals, all of which were extremely valuable and useful to him. But the 3 treasures added together were only the first opportunity that Xue Bei wanted to give him. Xue Bei had just said that there were 4 opportunities left for him in this secret realm. If the first one was like this, then the other 3 opportunities. The second opportunity one want to give you is a secret skill. Xue Bei said again. A secret skill? Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. This secret skill is very special. It's called Emperor's Order, Xue Bei said slowly. The Emperor's Order skill is also a life-saving secret skill. It was obtained by the leader of the Blood Ancestors bloodline, the Blood Ancestor, by chance when he was adventuring in the universe battlefield. After that, he only passed this secret skill to 2 people. One was his personal disciple, and the other was me. Now, I will pass this secret skill to you. With that, Xue Bei slowly raised his palm and pointed his right index finger at Jian Wushuang's glabella. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.